What's going on, everybody? Welcome to LTMB Live. This is Let the Madness Begin. As always, I am Will Gaillard.
And I'm Mike White.
Thank you for joining us tonight. This is March the 12th, 2007? I don't know.
30-year-old boy. So
There we go.
So, you know.
All right, they couldn't hear us.
I wasn't.
All right, yeah. What's going on, everybody? This is LTMB Live. Let the Madness Begin. Sorry for that audio issue. But yeah, we are here.
Will was having trouble.
Yeah, we were just talking about...
He was having trouble, I guess, remembering what year it was.
Yeah, I thought it was 2007, but I just realized 2019. So you were saying that I was getting confused about...
You were getting confused about what year it was because 2007, 2008, whatever, just 10 years ago, it's far away.
Yeah, man.
It's far away. You know what I'm saying?
And we can't be held accountable.
No, you definitely can't be held
that you
accountable.
might have said 10, 12 years ago.
And like Tucker Carlson has kind of shown me that.
A little bit of education.
A little bit of education. Because I know, you know, there are things I said when I was 30 years old. A 30-year-old boy. When I was a 30-year-old boy. There's things that I said when I was a 30-year-old boy. You know that.
A 30-year-old boy.
Yeah, a 30-year-old boy. That, you know, things that you would expect a 30-year-old young lad to say.
Yeah, man.
You know but see, I've matured.
Not experienced in life.
Exactly, not experienced. I've matured since then, though. I have matured since then.
That's right.
And gotten over those, you know, those adolescent perspectives.
Yeah, the hurdles you have to.
The hurdles you have to climb over as
a young child,
a 30-year-old boy.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into that in just a little bit, but thank you for everybody that's here. We know more will join us soon. We are broadcasting live on YouTube and Twitch and Periscope Live, so hello to everybody out there. We have we have an extensive show for you. There's some things that we probably won't even get to tonight because I think so many things did happen over the last few days that we have not been able to broadcast. So we're going to try our best to get through the most pertinent. We do have a dummy of the day for anybody watching. We do have a dummy of the day.
And this dummy of the day is probably the least surprising.
Because
it's
not going to surprise
It's not going to surprise anybody because he could be the dummy of the day every show.
Every show we could probably find something on this particular individual, but we'll leave that to them. So let's just get going with a few notes, some information. The Democratic National Committee has selected Milwaukee, Wisconsin as the site for the 2020 Democratic National Convention. So this was done, I believe this was just yesterday that they made this decision. And there was a lot of speculation about where it was going to be. I believe it came down to Milwaukee, Houston, and Miami. Miami would have, Miami.
No. That you see, we have a history together when it comes to Miami.
Yeah.
I'd rather it not be in Miami.
I'd rather it not
be in Miami for other reasons.
Yeah. Houston would have been nice.
We got a friend that lives in Houston, but nah.
Anyway, so it is going to be in Wisconsin. It's going to be Milwaukee. And I think this was done strategically. We know that Wisconsin was lost by Hillary Clinton in 2016. That and some other Midwest states. So I believe this is trying to do something. I think the Democratic Party is trying to do something here, try to get at the heartland of America, you know, do a lot of campaigning there, show of strength, a show that this is going to be the region that's going to be important to them too.
Oh no, that was definitely, I guess, a strategic in that they're showing those voters in that region that, hey, we care about you.
Exactly.
We care about you this time.
We didn't forget you.
We didn't forget you. We forgot you last time.
We did.
But we care about you this time.
Yeah. So, I assume that we will be going next year. This is about just over a year away, but I assume that we will be going there. So we'll see who becomes the nominee. It's a long ways away. Also, HR 1, which also goes by the name the For the People Act, it passed along party lines 234 to 193 on Thursday. So we have talked about this before, and you can recall that Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, he was on the floor of the Senate and lambasted against it, calling it a power grab by the Democratic Party, and that he was against the election day becoming a federal holiday. There are many different features to this bill that are very encouraging. One, like I just said, the election day becoming a national holiday. Also, it addresses campaign finance, 15 days of early voting nationally, automatic registration, same-day registration. It addresses the purging of voter rolls, something that we definitely saw in 2016 and in 2018. Strengthens the Voting Rights Act. Presidential candidates must release their tax returns. President Trump, that one's for you. I believe, can't serve on corporate boards if you're in the House. That's very good. Also, you can't use taxpayer funds to pay penalties for employment discrimination. It addresses foreign and domestic lobbying. Like I said, it's a very inclusive bill. So I'm actually somewhat surprised that the Democratic Party is behind this. Because, of course, like I said, we noted how in 2016, how there were multiple problems, and we can't just put that all on the Democratic Party, but there were certain problems that the Democratic Party was responsible for.
Yeah, because if, Donna Brazil's comments about Hillary Clinton's campaign taking over the DNC are true,
right?
Then maybe Hillary Clinton and her campaign and how much influence they had over the DNC probably played a major role in how the primaries, went by or took place.
Right.
Like all the stuff you just listed kind of gave me an idea about why McConnell is so against this bill. And I think what he did was he pointed to the easiest thing to attack, and that's the federal holiday part. When all the other stuff he probably has a more of a problem with. Right. I guess we already have too many federal holidays is something that he can like easily attack. But the funny thing about that, finding that kind of low-hanging fruit to attack almost creates a situation where you can make an easy argument to rebut that as well. Because if he's concerned that we have too many federal holidays, then we can just switch one out. We can just swap one out. If that's his issue, we can just swap one out, right? I think that making election day much easier for people is way more important than, let's say, celebrating Christopher Columbus.
I would tend to agree with you. And I already saw it in the chat section that somebody was saying that the Democratic Party knows that this is going to die in the Senate, which of course they do know. So it is very possible that this is just like other things that the Democratic Party has done, and we have called out before, where they take a position that seems like is very ethical. It seems like it's the right way forward. It seems like it's the right way to represent people's interests. But of course, they would have to know that it's not going to get past either the Senate or the House, just depending on which body they don't control. So they could be full of shit. They really could be full of shit. But I do think that this is a good look, especially going into 2020 races. Not just the presidential race, but the House races, the Senate races as well. This is going to be something that the Democratic Party can campaign on and actually try to get votes from people on. If we're trying to expand voting rights, if we're trying to not have these, these purged rolls, trying to expand early voting, just all address campaign finance, lobbying, all this. Like I said, it's a good look. No matter if you can eat, no matter if you believe it's bullshit or not, it's a very good look, and I think it will weigh heavily in 2020.
Yeah, it's just it looked like something they'll be able to put on their resume, or their business card, and be like, "Hey, see what we tried to do."
Right.
So even if it's some sort of like a ruse, it's a ruse that's unfortunately would work. Because they can say, look what we tried to do, and then say, hey, these Republicans, look at these Republicans.
Exactly.
They didn't want to make it easier for you to vote. They didn't want to make it easier for you to practice your, I guess, rights as a American citizen. You know what I'm saying? They can sell it like that.
They stand against democracy.
They stand against democracy.
You know? So, again, this is not going to be the last time we hear about something.
But see, the problem is, it's like, Republicans aren't smart enough to see that. That's what they're doing.
Yep. All right. So on Monday, President Trump released his budget for the fiscal year 2020. And as he has done in past years, he proposed massive spending cuts to domestic discretionary spending like Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP benefits, the National Science Foundation, etc. This all while increasing the military budget. The defense budget.
The defense budget. I thought he was going to be the president that got us out of situations, right?
Yeah, I thought so.
Well, I mean, we didn't think so.
No, yeah,
I mean, when we say we thought, we're saying that
based on his rhetoric.
Based on his rhetoric and what people were saying.
Oh yeah, and
a lot of people were saying.
People continuously state in 2019 as well.
Even though he's not pulled out of Syria, and the amount of airstrikes and drone strikes in Syria have increased since he said he was going to pull out.
But the cuts to the discretionary spending like Medicare and Medicaid and SNAP, we've seen that from his budget before. We've reported on that before. And this is a guy in President Trump that on the campaign trail, and while he has been in office, he has talked about not cutting Medicare, not cutting Medicaid, blah, blah, blah.
I wouldn't do that to you.
Wouldn't do it.
He said I wouldn't do that to you.
But it's in the budget. It's in the budget. You can't hide from the budget. Well, you can try. And I guess to some people he does hide, but it is what it is. Now, one very interesting thing that was also in this budget, amazingly, he requested funds for a specific project. A very specific project he requested funds for.
Are you looking at me like I'm supposed to guess what that project is?
It's a project that he's been championing since the campaign trail.
Locking Hillary up?
You would think that he would finally get around to it.
Locking Hillary, okay. Project. Draining the swamp?
No.
Draining the swamp.
Kind of like blocking the swamp in.
Blocking.
A little bit. You could think of it that way.
Let me see. I'll go. This is a three strikes thing?
Yeah, man. You only got one. We got time.
Okay. Is it the wall? Is the wall? Okay.
You got it.
I got it? Okay, yeah. I want my cookie after the show.
I got something. President Trump is asking Congress to fund the wall along the southern border. Now, I guess you would think that, we just came off of a government shutdown not too long ago. It was just some weeks ago. It was very controversial. Many government workers were, they were forced to work. Some were forced to work. Some were just staying home, not being paid. They missed at least two paychecks. The official government workers were repaid, but the ones that were contracted, I don't believe they've gotten paid, and there's no reason to believe that they will be paid. But anyway, so back then, President Trump was requesting $5.7 billion for the southern border wall. This dude had the audacity to up that ask. So he upped it to $8.6 billion he wants now.
That's what you do when you don't get the original amount you wanted. You request more.
You up it.
That's what you do. That's what you do. You say,
So, 5.7, I couldn't get that.
He's like, yo, they're 5.7. They wouldn't give me that, and the government shut down. So, I think I know what I got to do.
Yeah.
The problem is, I didn't ask for enough. That's the problem. I didn't ask for enough.
Just think about this, okay? So, just think about the scenario of events. He requests $5.7 million, $5.7 billion. Congress says no. Largely the Democratic Party said no. Democratic Party, as far as I know, still has control of the House of Representatives.
And the kind of the budget, I guess, the budget battle started before the break.
Yes, it started before
the Democrats officially took the House.
That's true. But, okay.
The first one.
Yeah, the first one. But staying in line with these events, okay, so the Democratic Party said no. Trump shut down the government for, I believe it was 35 days. He shut down the government. It's the longest government shutdown in history. Okay, so after that, he did reopen the government, and largely that was because of the airline industry. And people were, threatening to strike, and it was going to be real tense there. Real difficult situation. So he reopened the government, and they still didn't give him the $5.7 billion. Trump then declared a national emergency to get the money that he needed to build the wall. This was to go around Congress. Congress said no. He's like, yeah, I'm going to go around you to get these funds. And now he's asking the same people he went around for the funds for $8.6 billion.
Okay, so what does that tell you about, I guess, his outlook on whether going around Congress was going to work, or did it work? You see what I'm saying? Because if he can actually go around Congress like he said he was by declaring a national emergency, he would not need to request this $8 billion. Exactly. And if he thought that it would hold up in court, he would not then request this money in a new budget.
He said many times that I don't need Congress.
Yeah, exactly.
I got another way
so
of doing
again,
this.
He's kind of showing his weakness here. Obviously, he's not going to admit it, but he's admitting that he got defeated. Because otherwise, he wouldn't need to do this. And essentially, what he was saying was false. He doesn't have to say it, but what he's saying is false. And kind of this new avenue he says is going to work is obviously not going to work. This joke is just it doesn't really take a lot of insight or observation to see why he does what he does and what that actually reveals about the confidence he has in his own rhetoric and his own plan.
It's very simple. This is simple math. This isn't calculus or anything like that. This is... So anyway, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi and the Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, they said in a joint statement, President Trump hurt millions of Americans and caused widespread chaos when he recklessly shut down the government to try to get his expensive and an ineffective wall, which he promised would be paid for by Mexico. They then added Congress refused to fund his wall and he was forced to admit defeat and reopen the government. The same thing will repeat itself if he tries this again. We hope he learned his lesson. For me, that sounds like a parent scolding their child. We hope he learned his lesson. Again, as far as I know, the Democratic Party still has control of one, not one branch, but one of the bodies in Congress, and that's the House of Representatives. So if what's the chances, we just talked about this, I guess I got to ask this again. What's the chances that they say no to $5.7 billion, but then they say yes to 8.6?
And honestly, I don't think it would be the Democrats that is Trump's biggest roadblock. Because what caused the government to reopen was what?
Well, it was
at the end of the day.
It was bipartisanship.
Well, I mean, yeah, it was bipartisanship, but kind of like, what was the main driver and catalyst that kind of backed the Republicans and Donald Trump into a corner?
Oh, okay. When he reopened the government,
we had to.
The airline industry.
The airline industry.
Right.
Again, there would have been some serious liability there because officials from the airline industry indicated that they could not practice their job in a matter of safety. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to safety and ensuring that people are safe. So they didn't want any of that. And so I don't think Democrats are their biggest hurdle. No. I think that the airlines are probably sitting, waiting. They're probably sitting on the edge of their seat, waiting this time. And if there's another shutdown, they're not going to just wait 35 days this time.
No.
They're going to come out immediately and say, hey,
because why do that?
Remember what happened last time.
Exactly.
Like, do you want to endanger, or do you want to sacrifice the safety of the United States, or the citizens of the United States, or people who want to use air travel? Do you want to sacrifice their safety because you want to hold out for a wall? I think that, like, even Trump's administration didn't want any fallout that could have come from that if anything actually happened.
And so in the backdrop of all this is a resolution in the Senate that will be voted on in some time. And that's a resolution disapproving of the national emergency. And, and it's an effort to block the national emergency in the Senate. So there are several Republican senators who have already stated that their intention to vote for that resolution. The White House and President Trump, of course, they're trying to come to some type of deal with the Republican Party, with the Republican senators, so that they will do something to, in the future, this is ridiculous, in the future, the presidential powers, executive powers to, I guess, enact a national emergency, to declare a national emergency, will be limited. A president will be limited going forward in declaring a national emergency.
Wait. But in the future, though.
In the future.
That will happen. So,
he's doing that. He's trying to work with these senators, these Republican senators. Like, this here, I'll give you this, all right, so that I can't declare a national emergency as easily again. But for right now, I want you to allow me to declare the national emergency.
Oh, I see how you're trying to sell it. Hey, yo. No, this is pretty gangster right here. This is some gangster shit. Like, give me these powers now.
Yeah.
And you can trust me with these powers, right? But see, in the future, you know who else might use those powers? Them other dudes. Them dirty Democrats. So, like, I can use the power now, and you can trust me with it. But see, them other dudes, them other cats, you don't want them to have that power in the future. So it's like, basically he's using like a scare tactic.
Yep.
That's basically what that is. Like, trust me with these powers, but don't trust them. And you gotta do this after I enact my own powers.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. And again, these Republican senators, at least the ones that have already stated their intention to vote for this resolution, the reason why is because they're fearful of a president having too much power.
But see, why are they fearful though? What brought that fear about? Like, right now they're being like transparently dishonest, and it's obvious because, like, if they're against future presidents misusing, I guess, emergency declarations, then by default they are saying that Trump is misusing that power right now. Otherwise, what is the point of pushing for this resolution? It's sparked by Trump.
It would only be because you agree with him ideologically. That would be the only thing. You're okay with him using this type of power because you do agree with him politically. But it's a bad move for a president.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons why, Republicans are trying to, I don't want to say get ahead of this.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of different reasons, but I'd say they're trying to kill two birds with one stone. Like, one is they're trying to appease Trump, right, and not hurt his feelings. Two, I think they're trying to get ahead of the precedent that would be set if Trump does misuse his emergency declaration powers. They're trying to get ahead of that because I think I'm not going out on a limb here and assuming that Republicans are well aware of the voices in the media that have highlighted that he would be setting a precedent. So I think they have to, one, appease the president, and two, get ahead of the Democrats, I guess, making their claim to set some sort of state of emergency in the future.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, we'll see how it works. I don't know when this is set to be voted on. I don't know how much time he has to negotiate with these Republican senators, but we'll see. We'll see soon if he is successful or not. So let's go to Tucker Carlson, old Tucker, having a bit of a problem recently.
Tucker
Carlson got into a little kerfuffle, something like that. You know, it's not really a rhyme, but
you know, he reminds me of He reminds me of remember that show, The Wonder Years?
Yeah.
You know, Kevin's brother, Wayne Arnold?
Wayne, yeah. The big, like, the meathead, the bully.
That's what he reminds me of, Wayne Arnold. But go ahead, my friend.
All right, so Media Matters has unearthed some old audio clips from Tucker Carlson appearing on a certain show called the Bubba the Love Sponge Show. And this is from years ago, around the years, I think, of 2006 to 2009. So about a decade ago. In these audio clips, Tucker Carlson offended many types of people. He was racist. He was bigoted. Misogynist. It was really filthy speech. Just some of the things that he said. He referred to Iraqis as semi-literate primitive monkeys. He talked about the president. He talked about that he would vote for a presidential candidate who was openly racist or bigoted. He said that the Congressional Black Caucus was only there to criticize white people, was only there to blame the white man. He referred to, actually, there were many sexist comments, like you said, very misogynistic comments.
Said, like, women are primitive.
Yes, he said they were primitive.
They just need to, pretty much, they just need to sit down and shut up, sit down and listen.
Yes.
Just listen to you.
He compared them to dogs. He said that Britney Spears and Paris Hilton, he said, quote, two of the biggest white whores in America. He talked about Alexis Stewart, who is Martha Stewart's daughter. He called her, quote, extremely cunty, which is very interesting because just recently, this goes back to, I believe it was late last year, maybe the summertime, something, I can't remember the exact period of time. He had very condemning words for Samantha Bee because Samantha Bee said the cunt. She said cunt as it relates to
Melania.
Was it Melania or Ivanka?
It was either one of them. I think it was Ivanka.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was Ivanka.
Yeah,
I can't remember. It was one of the Trumps.
Yeah, but he had very condemning words of her. And he also said something like, well, men don't say that. That's really offensive.
He's like, basically he said, I wouldn't say that as a man.
Right.
As a man, I wouldn't say that. Like, he specifically said, he didn't say, like, other men, should be condemned for saying that. No. He said, I wouldn't say that as a man.
Wouldn't say it. So after this revelation, Tucker Carlson refused to apologize. He did comment and say that, essentially, anybody that has a problem with my words, you're free to come onto my show and we can discuss that. So last night was the first time that he was on air on Monday night. The first time he was on air since this had hit the news. So he had about a 5-minute opening monologue in which, again, he did not apologize whatsoever. But much of it was very deflecting and distracting. We have a clip of it that we wanted to show you. It's about a minute and a half long. And you can see where he takes it.
Republicans in Washington do a fairly credible imitation of an opposition party. They still give speeches. They tweet quite a bit. They make concerned noises about how liberals are bad. But on the deepest level, it's all a pose. In their minds, where it matters, Republican leaders are controlled by the left. They know exactly what they're allowed to say and believe. They know what the rules are. They may understand that those rules are written by the very people who seek their destruction. They ruthlessly enforce them anyway. Republicans in Washington police their own with a never-ending enthusiasm. Like trustees at a prison, they dutifully report back to the warden, hoping for perks. Nobody wants to be called names. Nobody wants to be Trump. How many times have you seen it happen? Some conservative figure will say something stupid or incomplete or too far outside the bounds of received wisdom for the moral guardians of cable news. Twitter goes bonkers. The mob demands a response. Very often, the first people calling for the destruction of that person are Republican leaders. You saw it with the Covington Catholic High School kids. You see it all the time. Kevin McCarthy spends half his day telling Republican members not to criticize progressive orthodoxy. Paul Ryan did the same before him. A couple of years ago, the entire Democratic Party decided to deny the biological reality of sex differences, an idea that's as insane as it is dangerous. Republican leaders decided not to criticize them for it. They might get upset. This is a system built on deceit and enforced silence. Hypocrisy is its hallmark. Yet in Washington, it's considered rude to ask questions about how exactly it works. Why are the people who considered Bill Clinton a hero lecturing me about sexism?
So that is
that was
Tucker Carlson.
That was
in his glory, in all his glory.
Yo, I gotta give a chef's kiss.
Yeah. That was deflection right there.
That was deflection and some straight up gaslighting.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's not me that's the problem. It's the people that call me out that's the problem.
Yeah.
And since those people aren't perfect, then I shouldn't be held accountable for anything I say or do.
Right.
Like, is he really trying to sell that Republicans are led by Democrats and liberals, or who else on the left? Is he really trying to sell that?
The Republicans are being controlled by the left.
Being controlled by the left. So is that why they were in opposition to same-sex marriage? Is that why they're in opposition to abortion? Is that why they're in like complete opposition to health care? Mm-hmm. Is that why they're always trying to gut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid?
Enrich the rich.
Is that
not provide a living wage? All of these things.
So the tax bill they passed in December of 2018.
That was because of the left.
That was because they were being led by the Democrats.
Exactly.
Again, it's both, like you said, it's deflection, it's gaslighting, and it's kind of, it's not just him not taking responsibility for himself. He then made this about like the entire party, conservatives, that entire ideology, and giving like his side, the conservative side, I guess, no incentive to take responsibility for who they are and what they represent.
Look, I am totally fine with Tucker Carlson not apologizing. I swear I am. Because we always talk about this. When somebody comes out with an apology, when they really reveal their true self, I don't really want to hear an apology because I know it's full of shit, right? So
what's that saying? When people show you who they are,
believe them the first time.
Believe them the first time.
Exactly. So Tucker Carlson, this isn't the first time. So I already know who Tucker Carlson is. So for him to apologize would mean nothing to me whatsoever. So I have no problem with him not apologizing. Now, him trying to sell the idea that he should not apologize because of the liberals, the left, that
Bill Clinton. Yeah. Bill Clinton did something bad 20 years ago.
Right. They don't have a moral leg to stand on. Okay, that's cool. Is it only people that are in Congress or politicians, governors? Is that the only people that are offended by what Tucker Carlson said? Or is it a lot of America that are offended by what Tucker Carlson said? Because he didn't limit his comments to black people or people from, what he said, Iraqis. He didn't limit them to just women. He offended a whole lot of people. So I can imagine that many different types of people are offended by his words. So it's not just about politicians. Who gives a damn? If you don't want to listen to politicians on the left, that's cool. But it's not like they are the gauge for our morality.
Yeah, they're not the gauge for society's morality. And it's like, he sets up this straw man like there's just only two sides. It's those who oppose me and then those who supported Bill Clinton. Do you see what he does?
That's a false choice, man.
That's a damn false choice. Because he has to set it up to where, like, there's this assumption that there was mad support for what Bill Clinton did. You see what I'm saying? And there wasn't.
Again, I have no problem with him not apologizing because it would mean nothing. I saw Chris Cuomo from CNN. He was talking about it last night. And I agree with him. He was saying that that Tucker Carlson's a coward. Because if you're not going to apologize, which, again, I don't want him to because I know how he feels. Yeah, if he's not going to apologize, then why don't you repeat the words?
Why don't you repeat it? To me, it's like, this sums up this whole situation for me. Unearthed audio shows Tucker Carlson being exactly who I thought he was. That's what summed up, and being exactly what Fox News knows he is.
That's right.
being exactly what Fox News knows what they were getting when they brought him on. He already worked for Fox before and was fired. So they brought him back knowing exactly what they were getting. Because who did he replace? Who did he replace? He replaced Bill O'Reilly. So they knew what they were getting in Tucker Carlson. That's why I'm just not all for this like boycott stuff, because he's doing exactly what Fox hired him to do. I ain't mad at him. It's just he's like you said, he's weak.
Yeah.
He's weak. A coward. He's weak and a coward because like everything he said since all this came up is not taking ownership of it. He said that it was 10 years ago. It was 10 years ago. I'm like, dog, you were 40 years old.
I'm saying.
Like, just take ownership of it.
And then at some point he said he kind of tried to deflect to saying that the comments were taken out of context.
We were on a show. It was a shock jock show.
Yeah, they were said in jest, but he said none of that will really mean anything. They just pretty much want your head on a stake. So.
And also they want his enforced silence, even though he did a show on Monday, which reached millions of people. I would love that type of enforced silence. To have like millions of people viewing this show. I would love that type of enforced silence.
No matter what you say.
No matter what you say.
Yeah, no matter what you say.
Enforced silence, even though you're on TV saying there's an enforced silence. That's some irony.
You have this giant corporation that's behind you and will back you up, no matter what you say.
Poor Tucker.
Poor Tucker Carlson. But he was not the only Fox News host that got into trouble over the weekend or that set off some controversy this weekend. It was also Judge Jeanine.
Judge Jeanine.
So on Saturday night, Jeanine Pirro sparked the controversy on her Fox News show, Justice with Judge Jeanine. In her opening monologue, Pirro addressed Representative Ilhan Omar being criticized for perceived anti-Semitism and made reference to Representative Omar's faith. So we have a clip of that.
This is not who your party is. Your party is not anti-Israel. She is. Think about this. She's not getting this anti-Israel sentiment doctrine from the Democrat Party. So if it's not rooted in the party, where is she getting it from? Think about it. Omar wears a hijab, which according to the Quran 33:59 tells women to cover so they won't get molested. Is her adherence to this Islamic doctrine indicative of her adherence to Sharia law, which in itself is antithetical to the United States Constitution?
United States Constitution. Now, I can speculate as to why she's kind of articulating her double standard. I mean, I can get to that later. But there are thousands of representatives in Congress, state legislatures, judges, prosecutors, etc., who are Christian and who express their Christian faith. And routinely, and kind of follow the law. They're not guided by their religious beliefs when they're doing their job as a government official. I'm perplexed as to why I've never heard Jeanine question their ability to follow the Constitution. Perplexed, man. Never questioned that.
Well, see, here in the United States of America, this nation was founded on Judeo-Christian, the Judeo-Christian values.
You can't even say it without tripping yourself up because you know it's bullshit.
So, since we were founded on those values, we must be bigoted to other sets of values, I guess. Which, who says that Muslim values are different?
They aren't. They aren't different in so much as if you're just looking at practicing religious tenets. Because Jews, Christians, and Muslims have religious tenets they practice.
Right.
But what bigots like to do is act as if Sharia law is some sort of exclusive. Their biblical tenets and biblical laws that they follow are exclusive. Like no other religion does that. And I'm just like, people do it every day. For the most part, Christians practice their religion and don't allow it to influence their jobs, don't allow it to influence their ability to govern. If we're talking specifically about representatives, they don't mix the two. Now, there's a fringe that does, and we highlight that often. But like Christians have their version of Sharia law, Jews have their version of Sharia law. It's not called Sharia law. And you can kind of see this when you walk into a church that's kind of denominationally operated. Right? They operate upon dominational principles. In this church, we do this. This is the bylaws of this church. This is Pentecostal church. This is the Methodist church. This is the Baptist church. And so they operate upon laws. And if you violate those laws, you can actually get kicked out of the church.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the government.
So, and like what you're saying, there are many different types of Christianity. So then there would be many different types of this
law,
Sharia law, or whatever type of law, whatever type of ideology.
Like some counterpart, an equal counterpart.
Right. Yeah. So this apparently was too far for Fox News. This was too far for Fox News, which surprised me. So Fox News made a statement, and they said, quote, "We strongly condemn Jeanine Pirro's comments about Representative Ilhan Omar. They do not reflect those of the network, and we have addressed the matter with her directly." After that statement, Pirro made a statement of her own, and she said, "I've seen a lot of comments about my opening statement from Saturday Night Show, and I did not call Representative Omar un-American. My intention was to ask a question and start a debate. But of course, because one is Muslim does not mean you don't support the Constitution. I invite Representative Omar to come on my show anytime to discuss all of the important issues facing America today." So she just wanted to ask a question. See, she just wanted to start a dialogue. She didn't really mean that if you wear a hijab, if you wear a hijab, not a jab, but a hijab, all right? So if you wear a hijab, she didn't mean to infer that just that simple act alone means that you are un-American. No, she just wanted to ask the question if it meant that.
She just wanted to start a debate.
Yes.
But guess what? There is no damn debate.
No.
There is no damn debate. It's a false question, and she knows it's a false question.
So then she was only doing one thing here, and she was being bigoted.
She was being Islamophobic. That's essentially she's trying to suggest that Representative Omar is not going to follow the Constitution, and kind of, I don't know, but why would you suggest that? Because what would her decisions affect, or who would her decisions affect? Who would these unconstitutional decisions affect? It would affect you and I. So she's trying to get you to fear any decision Omar was going to make, going to violate your constitutional rights. Which is ironic that she's bringing up the Constitution, considering the Constitution allows people to do what, Will?
Oh, freedom of religion?
Freedom of religion.
Freedom of religion.
And it's even equally ironic because in this country, what religion is always trying to subvert the Constitution and kind of legislate their religious values on everyone else?
What? Huh? What? What?
You heard me.
What?
I know you heard me.
Would that be Christianity?
Yes, yes. And I think from what I know, Judge Jeanine is a Catholic. So it's like,
I didn't know that. But...
Yeah, I think she's a practicing Catholic. And like, what makes it even more like insensitive is because I think there was somebody who ran for president in 1928, Al Smith, who was a Catholic. And his opposition put out flyers and put out like different brochures that said he was going to be a puppet for the Vatican. And he was going to create a back channel or tunnel to Rome as a Catholic, so we can't trust him to follow the Constitution. That's what was said about a Catholic. That's a religion that Judge Jeanine Pirro practices. So you would think that she would be a little bit more sensitive to Representative Omar.
A little less bigoted. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Islamophobia,
there's no limit.
Oh, no. Lots of people can get behind that idea. Islamophobia. Oh, yeah. All right. So let's move on to Liz Cheney.
Oh, Jesus.
All right. So on Sunday, Representative Liz Cheney, who was a Republican from Wyoming, and the former VP's daughter, Dick Cheney, she appeared on NBC's Meet the Press with Chuck Todd and spoke about the House resolution denouncing racism and bigotry. Now, Representative Cheney was one of only 23 Republicans that did not support the resolution. and she addressed the criticism coming from the fellow Republicans. So Representative Cheney, she also had some words about the Democratic Party. So we want to show you this clip. And then we'll come back and talk about it.
I am curious, there was a bit of criticism. Politico noted their Republican sources were quite peeved at Cheney, referring to you to say the least. The thinking among most top Republicans is this: when you're part of a leadership team, you stick together, period. Criticism being, since you're a member of leadership, that you should have spoken with one voice.
Well, look, I think that, you know how the Hill works. There are always those anonymous sources who are out there sniping. But I think the important thing for us to be focused on and to remember, the Democrats have been in charge now for about 2.5 months in the House. And in that time, they've become the party of anti-Semitism, the party of infanticide, the party of socialism. They've passed legislation that's violated the First Amendment, the Second Amendment. It's really time for the Democrats, the leadership in that party, to stop it, to stand up and to act worthy, frankly, of the trust the American people have placed in them. It's crucial for the nation.
So, in the short time that the Democratic Party has held the power.
2 years.
No. 2
months. My bad. Yeah, 2 months.
Yeah.
They just became what?
They became the party of anti-Semitism.
Right.
They became the party of infanticide, and they became the party of socialism. So the party of anti-Semitism. Okay. There were many Democratic representatives, members of Congress that came out in opposition of what Representative Omar stated. Now, there were others that defended her and said that they don't believe that she had ill intentions. They don't believe that she had the intention to be offensive to Jewish people. So I think that's dead on its face, that the Democratic Party is the party of anti-Semitism. That's a nonsense point.
Okay, what about the other charges?
The party of infanticide. So we addressed this at least a couple times. That stems from the legislation. There was legislation in NVA. It was a bill, and it was about late-term abortion. It had nothing to do with infanticide. When the Democratic, the member of the delegates, I forgot her name, but when she was proposing the bill, she was being asked on the floor about any protections for babies that are born alive. And, like I said, it was actually a nonsense question because the bill had nothing to do with that. It had nothing to do with changing the rules and regulations and like protecting babies that were born alive. It had nothing to do with that whatsoever. But because of that talking point, Republicans, they used this to attack the Democratic Party. They used this to sell the idea that the Democratic Party was in favor of infanticide, when, again, nothing changed on the books. And there's actually already something on the books that protects against infanticide. There was a bill that the Republicans in the Senate, they tried to push forward, and I forgot what it was called. But, again, it was like, it was trying to do the same thing that has already been done. It was done years ago. So the Democratic Party said no. Most of the Democratic Party voted against it. Because of that action, Representative Cheney and many other Republicans, including President Trump, who said this in his State of the Union address, declared that the Democratic Party is now the party of infanticide, which is a complete lie.
Interesting. When I think of infanticide, abortion is not the first thing that comes to mind. You know what I think of?
What do you think?
I think of drone strikes, killing civilians. That's what I think of infanticide.
Yeah.
I think of proxy wars. Like, what comes to mind is the United States imperialism. What comes to mind is endless wars. What comes to mind is civilian deaths being looked over for the sake of killing terrorists. So when I think of infanticide, I think of kind of all of the military actions that are initiated by the United States.
You know what I think of?
And the reason why...
Keep going, yeah.
Well, no, go ahead, because they're probably going to build on what I just said.
Well, it's going in a different direction of what I think of when I would say infanticide. So if you got something to add on to that.
Oh no, I just the reason why I brought those things up is because who her husband is.
Oh yeah, Dick Cheney.
Dick Cheney. So I don't think she has any ground to talk about.
With her father.
Sorry, yeah, my bad.
Yeah, father. Yeah.
My bad. That's nasty.
Yeah, it is.
That's the reason why I bring that up.
Yeah.
Because I do think it's like, it just seems a bit ironic, and she's not the person to try to educate people on infanticide when her father, there's a lot of blood on his hands.
Yeah. And we don't look. And just to be clear, we don't want to put somebody else's sins on that other person, but she defends her father's record.
She defends her father's
So that's
record.
why,
Exactly.
you can put it on her.
Yeah, yeah.
But what I think about, you got my mind thinking. When I think of infanticide, I think about the terrible sin that we are committing in this country and not providing health care to all of our citizens.
Oh,
because there are many infants that die because they don't have health care. You know what I'm saying?
No, I feel you.
So you can think about it in many different ways. If you're thinking about it in terms of what's going on when a baby is born alive, I'm sorry, there's already protection there. It's not like the doctors are like, well, let's kill it. No, that's not happening at all. So they're just telling a lie. This is demagoguery. So the last point is
socialism.
Socialism. Yeah. The Democratic Party has become the party of socialism.
Okay. Sorry.
Wow.
I know.
Wow. I wonder when that happened. I know that
the last 2 months, didn't you hear?
Yeah, that's true. Man, I was quick. Man, I was quick.
It was so quick. We didn't even. It just.
Woof, it just went right by us, man. I know there are a few elected officials, and they're not many of them.
Very few.
They're very few. Very few. There might be some, of course, that label themselves as a democratic socialist. Now, does that mean that they are a socialist? No, it does not whatsoever. They actually describe and explain what they mean by democratic socialism, and none of the definitions suggest that they want to replace capitalism with socialism.
It all boils down to just a capitalistic system that treats people nicer. That's really what it is. Because I haven't heard anybody
provides the basic necessities.
Even the whoever she has in mind, the most left Democrat representative that we have right now, have any of them ever advocated for profits, the capital, to go to the laborers?
No, not once.
Means of production, all of that being controlled and owned and by the labor class, profited same way. I haven't heard any of them kind of present some sort of economic model that features that. If they haven't, then they're not socialist. No. But she's just kind of engaging in that same fear-mongering. Mm-hmm. So why should I trust anything she has to say?
See, look, I've asked this question before. What exactly is conservatism? What the hell is conservatism at this point in 2019? Because I think we have to be honest here. It seems like conservatism is all about fear-mongering at this point. It's not about actually looking out for the best interests of people. I don't believe so. At least not the large majority of people. We know that they look out for the best interests of the wealthy class. And they do that every single chance that they can. It's not just done on the federal level. It's done on the local level, on the state level. Many states enact these very huge tax cuts, these tax incentives for corporations. So they always protect big business and the wealthy at all costs. What else is conservatism, though? Because we let off the show talking about H.R. 1, which is for the People Act, which it's all about, addressing campaign finance and the electoral process, and conservatives are against this idea. So again, what is conservatism at this point? I don't know. I think it's I don't think it's I don't even think it's an actual ideology anymore. If it ever was, I don't think it's an ideology. If it is an ideology, I don't think you can readily compare it to what you would call a liberal, what you would call a progressive. I don't think so. Not in 2019. Because if your idea of, if you have a different idea of getting to everybody is going to have health care, if you have a different idea and you call that conservatism, okay, we can work with that. Okay, I have a different idea. I call it progressivism.
But
okay.
But what you're saying is, I guess their response to, I guess the opposition's platform always seems to favor the wealthy. Is that what you're saying? No matter no matter what it is, it always seems to favor the wealthy. Yeah. Whatever they come against always seems to favor the wealthy.
That's what it seems like to me. You don't want to increase the amount of participants in the electoral process. You don't want to provide health care for all of America's citizens. You don't want to increase the federal minimum wage. You don't want to enact a living wage. You don't want to do anything about poverty. You don't want to do anything about mass incarceration.
So what's the connection here, though? What's the connection between them, how they view themselves, and how they, I guess, want the world to manifest? You see what I'm saying? Because it seems as if they want a world that caters to a certain class of people. Maybe they think they're a part of that class. Do you see what I'm saying?
They back that class at every turn, so it would make sense. I think right now, for somebody to call themselves a conservative, for me and me alone, it's an offensive statement.
Yeah, because essentially it always harkens back to some kind of point in history that never existed.
Right.
It essentially is a fantasy, and so they want that. They want to go back to that fantasy. But why? But why? Again, there's still that question: why do they want to go back to that? So you kind of linked it to their, I guess, adoration of the wealthy.
Right.
But really, it's not adoration of the wealthy. It's adoration of, I guess, authoritarianism. That's what that's what they're adoring, and that's what they want to go back to. So it's not just about money in this sense. It's not just about class. It's about authoritarianism. That's just kind of a symbol for that. How they talk economically and how they talk about social equity, it always tends to be steered in the direction of them wanting to be authoritarian over other people and supporting authoritarian figures.
Right.
So it's not even truly just about economics.
No. And you're talking about the authoritarians.
They want to go back to like where women are working in the house.
Yeah.
Women can't get abortions.
Well, see, I was going to go to the abortions. It's like
gay people can't get married. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So it always goes back to authoritarian.
If that's conservatism, and we know on those social issues that has always been ascribed to conservatism, like being anti-abortion, being anti-marriage equality. You know what? For me and me alone, I'm not for gay marriage. For me, I'm sorry, I'm hitting the mic. Like for me personally, like I don't want to. I'm not gay. Me personally, I'm not gay, so I don't want to marry a man. I mean, and that's just me. That's just me though. Now, if another man wants to marry another man though, that's cool.
If a man wants to marry you, don't you have to marry him?
No. See, that's not the way it works. That's not.
I think that's how it works.
See, marriage equality doesn't really work like that. You see,
it just means that every man has an equal opportunity at you and marrying you. That's what that means.
See, yes, see, it's legal. See, they have the opportunity, but see, I'll shut it down because see, I'm not gay. You understand?
You're obligated to marry a dude, Will. That's what it means.
And then, and again, if we're talking about abortion too,
you're obligated to get an abortion.
You have to get an abortion, right?
Obligated.
Like if you are against abortion, the idea of it, if a woman gets pregnant and you're like, there's no way I can fathom getting an abortion. I don't want an abortion. No, I'm going to take care of this child. Cool. That's on you. That's your personal decision. I don't understand how this can be how this can be defined as conservatism when it really is all about
authoritarianism.
Authoritative.
It's about control. It's about control. Everything is about societal control. That's why Tucker Carlson projected that. in his segment. What we covered earlier. That's why that projection was there.
All right, so we spent enough time on that. Let's keep going. Let's go to Castro.
Oh,
let's go to Julian Castro.
Woo.
Julian.
I'm on the fence with this dude.
Oh, I'm not on the fence.
Well, no, I'm saying like I was on the fence.
Yeah.
I definitely was.
I was gonna give him a chance.
I was gonna give him a chance.
Yeah,
I really was.
Yeah, but then this happened. All right, so let's get going with this. Hold on a second here. All right. So, Democratic presidential candidate Julian Castro made an appearance on CNN's State of the Union on Sunday and spoke about his support of reparations. In doing so, he also chose to criticize Bernie Sanders on the subject. So, we have video from this, and we would like to show it, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
What do you mean? Do you think that there should be actual monetary payments to descendants of slaves? Do you support more like what Senator Sanders is talking about, policies such as child care and education that help those who are disadvantaged?
Well, you know, what I said was that that I've long believed that this country should address slavery, the original sin of slavery, including by looking at reparations. And if I'm president, then I'm going to appoint a commission or task force to determine the best way to do that. There's a tremendous amount of disagreement on how we would do that. But let me just say something about Senator Sanders' response there, because he was also asked this question in 2016. Mm-hmm. What he said on The View, I think, the other day was that he didn't think the best way to address this was for the United States to write a check. To my mind, that may or may not be the best way to address it. However, it's interesting to me that when it comes to Medicare for all, health care, you know, the response there has been, we need to write a big check. That when it comes to tuition-free or debt-free college, the answer has been, we need to write a big check. And so if the issue is compensating the descendants of slaves, I don't think that the argument about writing a big check ought to be the argument that you make if you're making an argument that a big check needs to be written for a whole bunch of other stuff.
Interesting.
So if under the Constitution we compensate people because we take their property, why wouldn't you compensate people who actually were property?
Okay, I got a question to ask you. Is that the argument, or is that how Bernie Sanders approaches the topic of Medicare for all and tuition-free college, or college with some sort of tuition assistance, is write a big check? Is that a good way to sum up how Bernie Sanders sees those particular issues? Is that a good way to sum those up? No. Write a big check?
No, it isn't.
So the way Castro is framing Bernie's position is only designed to kind of, I guess, shoehorn his narrative through, right? It just feels like it's designed to shoehorn in a narrative he already pre-established.
Yeah. Look, I have no problem with Julian Castro or anybody else criticizing Bernie Sanders on this issue, on another issue. I have no problem with that. We've criticized Bernie Sanders before. Mm-hmm. I've criticized Bernie Sanders on this issue before as well, on reparations. When he was at the CNN town hall, he brought up Jim Clyburn's bill, the 2030 bill, which is not reparations whatsoever. So Bernie Sanders does talk about redressing the institution of slavery and the aftermath of it as well. So what I have said before is that if you are for providing some redress for what happened, then yeah, that could be termed as reparations. So just welcome the word and explain what you feel. What Julian Castro did was very, very, very disingenuous. Because what he is saying is that, look, Bernie Sanders, he's this transformative candidate, right? He's a progressive, in all meanings of the word, right? So if he is looking to provide health care for everybody in the United States of America, for every citizen in the United States of America, if he is willing to provide colleges and public colleges and universities tuition free, if he's willing to do these bold ideas and spend money for them, then why isn't he willing to spend money for reparations? That's disingenuous because that's not what Bernie said. Bernie Sanders did not push back on the idea of spending money to close the gap between white people and black people economically. He didn't say that whatsoever. What he did say was that he didn't believe the best way to address this was to write checks, like individual checks,
so there's a
to black people.
There's a specific aspect to reparations,
right,
that Bernie Sanders is against, not the entire concept.
No.
I think Julian Castro, his point would have been taken differently by me if that were the case.
Right.
Because Medicare for All requires structural change and does not involve writing out or issuing one-time checks.
Right.
That's the biggest difference. I just don't think you can juxtapose reparations with those other two topics. And like you said, you outlined what you had a problem with as far as how Bernie Sanders decided to answer the question. And I think there's legitimate grounds to criticize Bernie on that. But to me, it just seems as if Castro is just using this like as some sort of, I don't know, he's just using this topic to like as a weapon.
Yes.
It just seems like he's weaponizing the topic of reparations to attack Bernie, even though he himself doesn't really have an outline plan. He did not even answer the question. The first question that was asked was, do you think there should be monetary payments? Do you think there should be monetary payments? Did he actually answer that well? He never answered that. And see, that's the problem I have. If you're going to criticize another candidate for saying that they don't think checks should be issued, that's fine. But if you can't answer that question for yourself and you don't have a check plan,
right,
it instantly becomes disingenuous, and that kind of suggests to me that he's just kind of, I don't know how to I don't know how to describe what he's doing. He's like, it's like somebody, I guess, strapped with dynamite, but instead of dynamite, it's reparations. And he's running up to Bernie Sanders and saying, you see what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna press this button. That's what he was doing. That's what he's doing. That's exactly what he's doing.
Julian Castro, we know, is, again, like you said in that interview, and in other interviews as well, when he's talked about reparations, he has not come forward with a clear plan of what that means. He has said that, yeah, we need to look at the best way to address it. In this interview, he said as president, he would set up a commissioner task force to go about seeing what's the best way forward. That is not solid whatsoever. We don't know what the hell that means. If that's an individual check plan, if that's some other type of plan, we have no idea. So if that's your plan, which is so ambiguous, nobody knows what it is, how could you criticize Bernie Sanders? The way that you criticize Bernie Sanders is, let's see, Julian Castro, polling extremely low, doesn't seem to be making many moves in terms of raising funds for his campaign. So I think what we're seeing here is a candidate who is looking for a controversy to put his name in the news. He's looking for one of those top dogs, one of those leaders on top of polls to punch up. Hey, how do I get how do I get some buzz? Like, how do I attract attention to my campaign? Bernie Sanders.
But you know what he's saying, though? Essentially, he's saying that if you support anything progressive, or if your platform is progressive, you must support reparations. Wait, correction. Actually, you must support a specific aspect of reparations, which is
the
individual
check
check part. So not just reparations in general.
Yeah, but he doesn't even know if he supports that.
That's the thing. It's like if you're talking about kind of demographic or targeted outreach towards a specific demographic and investing money into certain areas and certain communities, I do consider that reparations. In a way, I consider that partial reparations.
Right.
The other part does involve the individual issuance of checks. Again, what Castro is saying, if you don't support that one part, then you shouldn't, it draws into question your entire platform. If you support progressive politics, you have to not only be for reparations in the form of demographically targeted programs, you have to be for issuing individual checks, a question that he didn't even answer for himself.
Exactly. So if you are, again, if you're going to criticize somebody for taking the position against individual handouts of checks, then you probably should make clear your support of that type of redress.
Also, again, you kind of, I guess, speculated the reason why Castro targeted Bernie. And I kind of feel that way too, because if it was really genuine, and if he wanted to have a genuine conversation, why is he only focused on Bernie's views on reparations when Harris and Warren claimed they supported it too? And neither of them have a one-time check plan, even though they claim that their platform is progressive.
Well, they weren't clear. They weren't clear on what they mean by reparations.
Basically, they were worse.
Yeah.
They were worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, this is just a tool that he is using. And I believe that this is going to be something that we see from now on. We don't know who's going to be the next one to do it, but I think this is going to be the strategy for at least several of these candidates. And virtually every poll, which I don't know whether to believe these polls or not, but it looks like Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden are at the top of polls, and everybody else is a distant third, and all the way to the 12th, 13th, 14th, or whatever. Everybody's polling distant third, whatever. So how do they get up there? How do they make a name for themselves? Are they going to attack somebody like Joe Biden, who, again, is not in the race as of yet? Are they going to attack Kamala Harris, who, again, she's running a distant third? It's going to be Bernie Sanders. It's going to be Bernie Sanders. A lot of these politicians have already adopted many of the positions of Bernie Sanders. But again, a lot of people know that these policy ideas came from Bernie Sanders. He still has monumentous support going into this 2020 season. So, that's going to be the place they attack.
Yeah, I think it's quite possible for people to, not agree with Bernie Sanders' position on reparations. That can happen at the same time. You can do that as well as criticize Julian Castro for being disingenuous about how he's trying to use this issue. You can do both at the same time.
Yeah.
You can criticize Bernie for his position, and you can kind of, criticize Castro for being a bit vague and disingenuous and how he's kind of using this reparations issue. So,
yeah. But if you're Castro, you can't attack Bernie when your position is very unclear.
Yeah.
Just quickly, Nina Turner, who is a former state senator and a supporter of Bernie Sanders, she responded on Twitter to this, and she said, "I was watching CNN say the union per usual and was surprised he went there, Jake Tapper, as HUD Secretary Castro did more to exacerbate the racial wealth gap than anyone in the Democratic Party over the last few years." So she linked to an article that talked about, at the time, Secretary Castro's tenure when he was the Secretary of HUD. And there was analysis done of the Distressed Asset Stabilization Program, which is DASP, and it found that 98% of the mortgage loans that were sold to Wall Street. Now, the program was meant to strengthen communities and those individuals dealing with foreclosures, but 98% of the loans ended up in the hands of Wall Street. Once he was criticized, and he was criticized fiercely by progressive groups and housing advocacy groups, also members of Congress, Representative Rod Grijalva, Senator Elizabeth Warren, they all criticized him. After that, he pledged to make changes to, quote, encourage greater nonprofit participation in our sales. Nothing changed. 98% of the loans of the foreclosure of the foreclosure loans went to Wall Street. So there is some truth to what Nina Turner said, and you know he didn't do the disenfranchise the black community any favors while he was Secretary of HUD.
Maybe he's turned over a new leaf since then.
Doesn't look like it.
Just saying.
Because it looks like he's using the black community as a pawn right now.
Kind of.
Oh, my bad. I should have left that word out.
Kind of.
Should have left that word out. No.
See,
definitely.
again. That's kind of some information right there that kind of solidifies our position about him using this issue just to attack Bernie on and actually not be serious about it.
Yep.
Because you don't just turn over a new leaf if you know, that quickly, if you truly feel that black people deserve compensation.
Sure.
You don't, it's not like he was a young boy.
No. All right. We have a few more clips we're going to get to. Yeah, we're not going to get to everything tonight.
So don't hold us to that video description.
So I think, all right, so we're gonna do some clips of Marianne Williamson and Andrew Yang, two Democratic presidential candidates, and then we'll get to Dummy Today. We can do some of this other stuff on Thursday. All right, so excuse me. So Democratic presidential candidate Marianne Williamson appeared on The Breakfast Club just a few days ago. So we have a clip that we would like to show from that appearance. And we have talked about Marianne Williamson and her campaign several times on this show. And we have talked about how she has advocated for reparations. So in this clip, she does a little bit more speaking about that.
Well, I think that we could have a reparations council or board of trustees, as it were. And the money could be paid out, let's say, 20 years, 30 years, and it would be paid for projects of economic and educational renewal.
And strictly to the African descendants of
slaves? Yes, of course.
Why do you want to do that for black people?
Well, I don't, it's interesting you say that for black people. I think it's for America. I think that if you look at the historical arc of race relations between whites and blacks in America, I think, I don't believe that the average American is racist. I don't. But I do think the average American is vastly undereducated or underinformed about the history of race in America.
Are we talking about giving individuals checks, or are we talking about restitution and doing things in communities that will benefit people?
I think that should be for black America to decide. If I owe you money, I don't get to tell you how to spend it.
Ooh,
so
I like that.
I think that once this, I think the really big deal is the selection of this reparations council. And there are some very profound scholars, people like Professor Darity, Ta-Nehisi Coates. There are many people who have done years of work on this. And the issue would be the very important task of choosing the council, the very important task of negotiating the amount, and the stipulation in my mind would be for economic and educational renewal. And then obviously if the United States is going to hand over that kind of money, I'm not saying they should have no input, but it's not for white America to decide those particular issues.
Why do you think presidential candidates are hesitant to speak about black issues and a specifically black agenda?
That's not for me to, that's for you to ask them. I feel at this point in my career what I felt for 35 years, which is I'm not saying anything everybody I know isn't saying. I'm just saying it when the microphone is on. And I do think with a lot of the things I talk about, I'm not saying anything those other candidates don't know, but they won't name it. And people might want to ask themselves why that is.
Do you have a specific agenda for black people outside of the reparations thing?
Well, I think that, as we know, many of the issues of black America have to do with economic issues. And I think that in all of the areas where we need to address, whether it has to do with racial disparity in our criminal justice system, everything from legalizing marijuana to looking at all of the disparities there. Mass incarceration is a huge issue. Our prisons should not be privatized. When I was in college, there were 300,000 people in prison in this country. Now it's over 2 million. Obviously, there's a racial issue there. So anything that has to do with justice, once again, for me, it's about healing America. And anytime, Martin Luther King's comment, right, was anytime there's a threat to Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
I feel like you're one of these white people who do more listening than you do talking. Like you listen to the struggles of other communities, which I think a lot of people don't do enough.
You know, I'm Jewish, and I was brought up to believe that even if they're not doing it to us now, they could at any time. So always be on the side of whoever they're doing it to.
Absolutely.
Okay, I need to complete this order. I need to complete this order right quick, and then we're gonna get to the segment.
Oh, you placing the order right now?
Yeah, I'm placing the order for Mayor Williamson.
Oh, okay.
This it's a lifetime cookout card. Wait a second. Submit. I just bought her a lifetime cookout card on me. On me.
Yeah.
Yo, I tell you what. I'll say it and I'll say it again. I'll ask this question. Who is this chick?
I don't know.
Obviously, we know who she is, but I'm just saying it in
who
jest.
Is this
yeah, you're just saying that in jest. Because it seems as if it goes beyond her answers. Like, of course she has the right answers, but if you look at her mindset, there is a few times where she redirected the interview because Charlemagne, in all his glory, he likes to direct the interview in certain ways. And sometimes people can get caught up in that when they're not centered on themselves.
Right.
But she essentially redirected like the conversation, like away from where Charlemagne was trying to go with it. What do you think about the question about like reparations being for black people and how she dealt with that?
Almost speechless though, because I wasn't expecting. Again, I've heard Marianne Williamson speak many times before now, and I always do come away impressed. But how she answered it, like you say, by redirecting the question, saying that why do you want to do this for black people? You know, because it's like a look, a white lady. Why do you have these progressive positions? Why do you want to advocate for black people? Why do you want to do this for black people?
It almost like the question is kind of designed around the notion of white saviorism.
Yes.
And she just was like...
and she went right past that and said, no. I don't want to do this for black people. No. This is for America. This is for Americans. Like, we need to redress what happened. I don't hear anybody speak like this. I definitely don't hear presidential candidates speak like this. And then the question about how is this money going to be spent? Again, she threw me. It's not up to me to decide how that money is spent. Of course, the parameters should be about, she said, educational and economic renewal. But if I owe you money, I don't get to tell you how to spend it.
And so it's like right there, she's like, look, I'm going to stay in my lane. She didn't take the bait.
No.
I'm not saying like Charlemagne was trying to bait her, but like Charlemagne's, I guess his interviewing style was doing that.
Yeah.
I don't think it was like purposeful. I just think that he was just
being direct.
He was just being direct.
Yeah.
Those are basic interview questions. I don't think there was anything malicious about it because like he was asking in a fashion that's typical in a kind of interview that surrounds politics. But one thing that he did notice about her, and he pointed it out, is that she seems to be really good at listening. But that has to do with her background.
Yeah.
So she's different from other politicians because of her background. She writes self-help books. And so she tries to kind of, help people dig themselves out of psychologically depressive holes. Like she tries to get people to, value themselves and be more emotionally intelligent in how they deal with themselves and engage with the world. So she's all about self-help.
Yeah.
Like her engagement with politics kind of reminds me of like, I don't know, like a relationship, a very good relationship that you were in, but you were friends first. You see what I'm saying? So you were friends first, so that makes the relationship stronger. I think like her background and how she engages with people and how she sees the world, it made like her politics stronger. It makes how she deals with politics work better and sound more genuine because she did that part first. So she's like that friend first.
I think we're accustomed to having political leaders that are narcissists. And that's not what she's bringing to the table. She brings qualities that cause you to believe that she has the capability to be empathetic. That she can try to listen to others, understand their problems, and try to work together to arrive at solutions. So again, I don't think that, I know we have politicians like that. And I believe Bernie Sanders is somebody like that. Hearing Andrew Yang talk, who we're going to talk about in a few minutes, hearing him speak, I get that feeling from him. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, there are multiple figures out there that you get a sense that they actually do care about people. They're not interested in selling out to corporate interests. They're actually there to do the job for the American people, their constituents. So that's the feeling I get from her. And like you said, you noted her background being in the self-help arena. She noted that she comes from a Jewish background, so she knows that, look, whatever's being done to other people, these people that are being discriminated against and being disenfranchised, we know that that same very thing can happen to us.
You see how she avoided getting into this little mudslinging battle? What do you say to the people that think this or say that? And she was like, you ask them why they think that. I'm not gonna get into speculation about why these people think and say this. Like she doesn't get involved in that kind of that typical political mudslinging and demagoguery. I would say it like loose demagoguery of always trying to demonize someone's points that essentially it's kind of a vague toss-up. Yeah. Like, what do you think about these people who think this? I'm like, what?
But she doesn't make herself out to be something special either, though. Right, she says that I don't know anything that these other politicians know. I mean, like, we all know the same things, but there's a reason why I'm saying it and they're not. So you need to ask them why they're not. Put the onus on them.
Why are they not saying it? Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Look, Marianne Williamson, I want to see her on the debate stage, and that's coming in June.
Yo, I'm telling you right now, man. I think I said this before. Ooh, it would be a weird flex for anybody to try to attack her.
Yeah.
It would be a weird flex. If it's a flex, you would have to bend yourself into a pretzel. You would have to.
Yeah. How are you going to try to go around her mentality? Like, how are you going to try to? It's going to be a hell of a task for you to criticize anything that she's actually talking about. So I definitely want to see her on the stage. The requirements, you have to have 65,000 individual donors. She's not there yet. She says she's on her way. So definitely, if you want to contribute to her campaign, it's Marianne2020.com. Go there. You can leave $1. It counts. All right. So it doesn't have to be a certain amount of money. It can be $1, and it will count as one individual donor. So definitely looking forward to, in a few months, seeing her on the stage. All right. So let's go to Andrew Yang. Okay.
Finally,
finally, we're going to talk about Andrew Yang. So a few days ago, Democratic presidential candidate Andrew Yang appeared on The Breakfast Club, and we have some clips that we want to show you from that interview. Honestly, the interview was about 45 minutes long, and I began cutting up the interview so that we can show it on the show.
You were like a kid in a candy store, dog.
It kind of felt like that. I started cutting it up, and I got to a point where it's like, okay, bam, okay, I got enough. This is what I want to show the audience. It was 28 minutes long.
Basically, you came to the counter, and your parents were waiting.
Yeah.
And you had
exactly.
You had
way too
You
much.
had a handful, armful of candy.
Yes.
Even though you're only supposed to get that much.
It was way too much. I think Andrew Yang killed it. He killed this interview. I don't believe I have seen Andrew Yang speak for this long before. I've seen a few performances or a few appearances that he's had where he spoke in maybe 7-10 minutes, something like that. And
wasn't he on CNN or MSNBC or some shit? Oh no, he was on
Fox Business.
Yeah,
I believe it was Fox Business with Barney
Stewart.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, whenever I do hear him speak, he does impress me. This interview he did on The Breakfast Club opened my eyes to what Andrew Yang is. He is his ideology, the way he can articulate his positions, just his plan forward is very impressive. So again, we have a few clips that we want to show you. In this first clip, Andrew Yang discusses universal basic income and what that would look like.
I'm proposing that we declare a dividend of $1,000 a month for every American adult starting at age 18.
That's the universal basic income.
Yes,
that you're proposing.
the universal basic income, which I rebranded the freedom dividend because it tests better with more Americans with the word freedom in it. And so,
what will that do? Yeah, because a lot of us have never achieved true liberation in this country.
Yeah, true. I mean, it's the truth.
Yeah.
It's one reason why Martin Luther King championed this plan and principle in 1967, the year before he was assassinated. He called it the guaranteed minimum income. Thomas Paine was for it at the founding of the country. This is a very American idea. So it seems far out to us now that, hey, we should just have a dividend where everyone gets $1,000 a month. But we've been talking about this for decades, and it came this close to being law in 1971. It actually passed the House of Representatives twice under Richard Nixon. Milton Friedman and 1,000 economists signed a study saying this would be great for America. And then one state has had a dividend for 37 years where everyone in that state gets between $1,000 and $2,000 a year, no questions asked.
What state is that?
That's Alaska.
Really?
Yeah, you go to Alaska right now, you live there for a year, and everyone in your family gets between $1,000 and $2,000 a year from the petroleum dividend. It was passed 37 years ago by a Republican governor, and Alaska's a deep red state. This Republican governor shows up, 1982, and he's like, hey, there's a lot of oil money. Who would you rather get it? The government who's just going to screw it up, or you, the Alaskan people? And then the Alaskans said, us, please. And he's like, I thought you'd say that. And so then they passed his dividend. And now it's wildly popular, has created thousands of jobs, has improved children's health, has a decreased income inequality. And what I'm going around the country saying is, look, what Alaska is doing with oil money, we can do for the entire country with technology money. This $1,000 a month dividend, one of the things it would do, right now there are millions of American women in exploitative or abusive jobs or relationships because they lack the economic freedom to actually make a change in their situation. So if the Democratic Party is going to talk about empowering women, you know what's going to empower women? $1,000 a month. You know, you get $1,000 a month, and then you know you're in some job that's exploiting you, or some relationship that's not good to you. Then you can be like, I don't need this.
I love where he took it. That last point, talking about people getting out of this situation, a very difficult situation, specifically women. They don't have the money. Maybe they're not working. They're home taking care of the kids. But maybe they're in an abusive relationship. They have nowhere to go. They have no money, right? UBI can do something to take care of that. If you're getting, not even earning, it's guaranteed for everybody, no matter if you're earning income or if you're earning the most income in the entire country, you're guaranteed $1,000 a month. This has effects all over the place. This can provide clothing for you and your family. This can provide safe haven, a roof over your head. This can provide health insurance as right now. We don't have Medicare for all right now, but this can provide for that. This can help, hopefully, maybe get you to further your education, further your studies. Maybe this gets you out of a crummy job that doesn't really care about you and doesn't provide any kind of safety standards for you. That's not paying you well. You can be choosy about the particular type of employment you are seeking. This has many effects, and I think it's the most sane idea, and I think he's able to articulate that very well. He points to what's happening in Alaska.
I think that was his jump-off point.
Yeah.
I think it's good to use Alaska as a jump-off point because you have to find an example as a rationale behind your platform or behind your policy.
Right.
And this is not hypothetical.
No, this is not some pie in the sky ideal, something that has not even been thought of before.
So here's what he's setting up. If any opponent to that platform, or if there is any opponent to that platform, which there will be,
oh, no doubt.
You know there will be, you know what he can go to. He can say, okay, so if you are against UBI in general, then you need to be working as a representative so that Alaska does away with theirs. You're saying Alaska's doesn't work.
Right.
Last time I checked, is Alaska's economy in shambles? Alaska's economy in shambles.
don't think so.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
I'm not gonna sit there and say, you know, a universal UBI should work in the same way. He used Alaska as an example because they have those oil reserves, and the way they divide up the funds or the money or the profits or the capital from those oil reserves goes to people. That's not exactly socialism, but that is pretty damn close. So we kind of already have an example of that right up there.
We do. And there's also a test case that's being done. I believe it was just started last month in Stockton, California. And I believe we have talked about this. When we talked about universal basic income in 2016, I think we were talking about Stockton, California. It hadn't been done yet, but the plans were in motion. So I believe it just started there last month, February. So again, this is not something that has not been thought about before. This goes back decades. There's communities that are doing it. There's a state that is doing this. So the whole goal though, is to provide those basic necessities, right? It's to allow people to not be so worried about where am I going to get a roof over my head with this little money I have. I don't have very much coming in. I have to pay for this. I have to pay for this. It's to provide for the basic necessities and maybe put you in a better situation overall. He says his idea of UBI does not call for the dismantling of other programs as well. So I think some people have, okay, so we embark on this initiative of universal basic income. That means we can get rid of all these welfare programs. He doesn't say that whatsoever.
Maybe that's his way of like putting his plan on the table without making any, I guess conciliatory propositions.
Right.
Just so that, like, if there are some made, he can be like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know.
The way he is saying it is like, it's not going to be something where it's like, okay, well, you get this, you get this, you get all of this, you get everything, right? So it will be a choice that people have. If you're coming out ahead, getting the entitlement programs, if you're, you know, getting food stamps, this and that, if you're coming out ahead.
I wonder.
All right. Looks like we are back.
Yeah, what's the last thing y'all heard? Because we didn't notice, because we weren't on that screen. We didn't notice that.
I think it just happened. I think I just noticed it. I don't know what's going on with YouTube.
Seems like it happened.
3 straight shows.
But see, this time it happened when we was talking about Andrew Yang.
Yeah. It did.
The Skynet again, man. The Skynet is at it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know where we. I think it just went out. I don't think it went out for very long. Okay, yeah, for about 60 seconds. All right. Well, okay, well, you know, we have one more clip. We have one more clip from Andrew Yang because we don't know exactly where we went out, what we were talking about, what we were actually saying. But we have one more clip from Andrew Yang that we would like to show you. And in this clip, Andrew Yang talks about his position on marijuana legalization, and he also talks about presidential corruption.
I'm for the legalization of marijuana, remove it from the controlled substance list, in part because our administration of the criminal laws are deeply racist. It's very obvious to everyone. So on April 20th, 2021, I'm going to pardon everyone who's in prison for a low-level nonviolent drug offense.
I like your marketing strategy, 420, baby.
Because it makes no sense to have people in jail for stuff that's legal in some parts of the country. Mm-hmm. And then there'd be a lot of money, and I know there are bills that want to channel that money to African-American businesses and communities, which is a great idea. So my proposal is that presidents get a 10x raise to $4 million, but then they're not allowed to take any for-profit, for personal gain speaking fees or board opportunities or any of that stuff after the fact, because it's human nature.
After they finish running, they can't do any books?
After their term is over.
Oh, they can do books, but they can't join corporate boards for money, take speaking fees for money. Because it's human nature. Let's say I'm president, and then there's some rich CEOs hanging around in the Oval Office. Mm-hmm. And I know that 3 years from now, they can give me $400,000 just to show up and schmooze with their clients and employees. it's human nature for me to be a little nicer to them, be a little softer on them, to be like, oh, I should just make friends with this person because I'm going to end up hanging out on the jet with them after I'm president. So you get rid of that motivation. You say, look, I can't take a dime from anyone for personal gain. You're going to pay me enough so that I work for the people, but that's it. We have to stop worshiping the almighty dollar, and that starts from the top. And this raise can go into effect the president after me. I really do not care.
That is radical. That last position.
But
it's only radical because I've never heard it before.
It's radical for a reason, though. It makes sense. It's kind of a radical approach based on where we've ended up as a country under the system of capitalism, under a system that kind of incentivizes our leaders kind of to
be corrupt.
To be corrupt,
right.
To use their positions to personally enrich themselves. That's the position we are in right now. We've always been in that position. I think right now it's crazy dealing with the person we have in the White House right now.
It is.
Who has not kind of divested from his business interests, and his children and his family are kind of getting in on that right now.
Making money while in the White House.
Making money while in the White House.
Using that as an advantage to make money.
Yeah, because if you think about it, like, I don't care who you put up in there, if that incentive is there to make money off your position as the president or as a representative, what do you think people are going to do?
Most people want to earn as much as they
possibly can.
Right. And if they see a possibility, no. Sorry. If they see a guarantee that the moves that I make while I have my presidency, while I'm in office, they will have a positive effect monetarily after I'm done. Like, I can sit on this board, I can engage in these speaking fees, I can, work for a lobbyist or whatever. Really? Of course they're going to be, like Andrew Yang said, of course they're going to be a little bit nicer. They're going to be more sympathetic to whatever they want to get done while that person is in office. So I love what he's trying to do there, because I have not heard that before. That is something that, you can say it's radical. I said it was radical. I don't really mean that. I just mean that it's radical because I've never heard that before. But if you're actually addressing the corruption within the executive office, man, I support that.
It would definitely, be interesting to see who is against it, because if
$4 million a year?
If I give up $4 million, there's a reason why I'm giving up $4 million.
$4 million a year.
Because he's probably already made the calculation that, like, that $4 million is nothing compared to how that representative, that president, drains the economy based on the connections that they make, and based on the financial wealth that they gain from being in that position. That $4 million is a drop in the bucket. So if someone is against getting $4 million, that must mean they want to do a lot of corruption. You see what I'm saying? To give up $4 million a year, if that's not an incentive, you got to be corrupt. You got to be corrupt to give up $4 million a year.
You know what'll be the pushback to that? Oh, we don't have that money. We don't have that type of money. We can't afford that. I think we can. I think we can.
Like, and if we can't afford $4 million, we can surely afford $2 million or $1 million. That's got to be enough. Because you can get out of office and then kind of invest your money into a business or something.
We're paying you to not be corrupt.
See, that's what he's doing. That's essentially what he's doing. And that's kind of sad that that's where we are. But what he is doing, he is fighting, he's not fighting fire with fire here. He's like, it looks like he's fighting fire with fire. But what he's doing is kind of like attacking the weakness of capitalism by offering people money to not be corrupt. He's attacking capitalism at its weakness. It's like, hey, you know what? You can not be corrupt if you want to. We'll just give you some money.
Incentivizing just doing the right damn thing. Just actually being an advocate for people, which is what you're supposed to be in the first place.
And unfortunately, with the system we live in right now, that's necessary.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Again,
it's kind of like if you started giving police officers raises for not being abusive, started giving them bonuses for not being abusive, and giving them money for like not abusing their power.
I will be for that.
I'll be for that.
Yeah.
And guess how many cops
where we are right now, I would be definitely for that.
And you incentivize it another way by saying, hey, you have to pay for your own defense too. No unions. You know what I'm saying? I guarantee you these mugs will be buttoned up the next day.
Hell yeah.
You have to do that in capitalism, unfortunately.
But he also talked about the that the laws here are deeply racist, the marijuana laws, the drug laws.
What did Charlemagne say?
Well, that was after he said, on 4/20/21, I will pardon everyone with a low-level, non-violent drug arrest. He was like, "Oh, that's a good marketing strategy."
Yeah.
I believe. Well, this was just about marijuana, so marijuana offenses. But that's, again, it's only radical because people have not suggested that before. Now we know in certain states now, they have pardoned some people, or they have at least advocated for pardoning some people when the laws were changed. Marijuana became legal to use recreationally. It's the most common sense proposal that you can think of. There's no way that people should still be in jail. Look, it would have to take a move at the federal level. We know that. But there's no reason that Colorado, California, Washington, D.C., these states that have legalized marijuana, there's no reason for people here in South Carolina and in Georgia and other states around the country to still be locked up for these low-level possession offenses.
I think you're incorrect. Well, there's a reason.
Yeah. You always do that. I know there's a reason. It's not a good reason.
Okay, there you go.
It's not a legitimate reason.
It's not a legitimate good reason.
It's not a moral reason.
There's a economic reason.
Oh yeah, there's an economic reason.
Yeah.
But anyway, like I said, that interview was it was a great interview. I can't even lie.
I swear, boy, I just hope Yang and Williamson can get to that debate stage, even though I know they don't have a chance in hell. Like, at least they'll push the conversation in a certain direction. And I do like the fact that Yang and Williamson went on that platform, the Breakfast Club,
right.
Because, politicians are always talking about how they want to broaden their audience, but yet they continuously and habitually only cater to people who watch cable news all the time.
Right.
You go on the Breakfast Club and you're catering to a whole new audience. You see what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure there's been crossover, but a lot of them ain't on that cable news, CNN all the time, MSNBC, Fox News tip. So in order to reach people, you have to be willing to go on platforms like this.
Yeah, different ones.
Mm-hmm. The Breakfast Club is that kind of platform to get a different segment of people interested.
See, and I'm still pushing back on what you're saying though, that they don't have a chance. I'm still pushing back on this. Now, Andrew Yang, he seems to be further along than Marianne Williamson. He talked about how, I believe in the last month, he raised $600,000, and that was only second to, I think, Bernie Sanders. So he says he's doing pretty well. I think he has over 40,000 different individual contributors right now. So he's well along the way to meeting that 65,000 number. So I think Marianne Williamson, she still needs, I think, about 40,000.
Do they have enough? See, I as a almost a lifelong friend and brother. Mm-hmm. I love you, man.
Yeah.
I love you. I really do, man. I say that, publicly.
Uh-huh.
But I think your heart is getting ahead of your head.
No. I have no illusions, all right? I have no illusions that the terrain is very treacherous, right? I have no illusions here. I'm just saying that when they get on the stage, if and when they do get on the stage, that's a whole new ball game.
True.
So we don't know. And again, there's so many different contenders right now. We don't know what voices could be elevated and what voices can't be. Like in every poll, it seems like Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden are right at the top, and everybody is like far away from them.
Joe Biden, somebody who hasn't even
put his name
in there, but they got him.
But they got him there, right?
And boo.
So I'm just saying, when you get to hear them on the national stage, it does depend on the questions that they get. But even then, I'm not even sure, because they do a fantastic job like you said, redirecting the question, reframing them, and answering in the way that they want to and conveying the message that is appropriate for them.
Yeah, I am very confident that, like, no matter what network hosts the debates, they have an answer for everything. Yeah, they have an answer for every issue that, you know, is presented to them, and every issue that is kind of hot button.
Right.
So yeah, I don't doubt for a second that they will be able to redirect if the question is shaped in a certain way, because you know how debates are.
Right, I do. Yeah.
They shape the questions in a certain way to kind of force answers. I don't think they have a problem with that.
And these two are like I said, these two talk, and we talked about that, I believe, last week. They did a live stream together a few weeks ago on the Zoom platform, and I believe that they were both there at the same time at the Breakfast Club for that interview. I think Andrew Yang went first, and then Marianne Williamson went. But there was at one time, I believe he saw Marianne Williamson, and I think it was I forgot which one of them said it, but it was like, oh, look, you're a contender, or your challenger, or something like that. And he was like, oh, no, I love Marianne Williamson. No, I don't even consider her like a challenger or a contender or something like that, or something like my opponent or something like that. So these two are very.
I bet you, man, I would just love to just see them talk to each other.
Yeah.
I would just love to sit at a table and ask them questions, but actually just see them talk to each other and bounce ideas off of each other.
When I hear them speak, it's almost like you're hearing somebody that's an expert in their field. Really like explain like what I'm gonna do, the way I'm gonna do it. Andrew Yang, I was very impressed with him because, again, I haven't seen him for more than probably 10 minutes at a time, and he came off very personable. He's funny. He's just very casual.
That's why he's so dangerous. That's why he's so dangerous. So he's not like this stuck-up guy in a suit that's just trying to point the finger and like as a robot saying we should do this, and this. So he's kind of has a well thought out plan, and just even how you're describing how he is and his demeanor, you're almost describing him in the same way as you're describing Marianne Williamson.
I am. Like I said, they come off with intelligence, and they come off with a very clear and solid plan. You're not going to see them stumbling along with questions because they have the knowledge of what they want to get done. They know why they need to get it done. They have a plan going forward. So I don't think they can fumble in an interview. I don't think they're going to fumble a question. They have the knowledge. So if y'all have not seen these interviews on the Breakfast Club, go to YouTube. You can find them on their personal pages, their campaign websites or their campaign pages on YouTube. Marianne Williamson and Andrew Yang, and if you do want to contribute to either one of their campaigns, again, it's Marianne 2020, and I believe it's Yang2020.com. So let's do all we can to push these two forward and get them on the stage, because we need voices like this to challenge the voices who we think are not the most genuine when they speak.
That seems like taking a shot at somebody, Will.
Yeah.
Seems like you're taking a shot at somebody there. That felt very pointed.
It felt pointed?
That felt very pointed.
Julian. All right, so we're going to do one more. We're approaching 9 o'clock. This isn't going to take long. So we have a dummy of the day, okay? So we definitely want to get to this. All right, so on Sunday, an Ethiopian Airlines plane crashed just minutes after takeoff, killing all 157 people aboard. The crash marks the second time in less than 5 months that this particular type of airplane, the Boeing 737 MAX, has crashed. In October, an Indonesia airline crashed under similar circumstances. And it was just minutes after takeoff. So several countries have now grounded all Boeing 737 MAX planes. This includes Ethiopia, Indonesia, Singapore, Australia, China. Actually, to not go through all of them, the only countries that have not grounded this particular type of plane are the United States and Canada. These are the only two nations that have held off on grounding that particular type of plane. So the U.S., they haven't done so. And the FAA, which is the Federal Aviation Administration, they say that it's just a little bit too early to do so. They believe that the planes are safe. So it's still yet to be determined what was the cause of this latest crash that took place on this Ethiopian airline. But some have speculated that it may be a software issue. This is what President Trump had to say about the situation earlier today on Twitter. Airplanes are becoming far too complex to fly. Pilots are no longer needed, but rather computer scientists from MIT. I see it all the time in many products, always seeking to go one unnecessary step further, when often old and simpler is far better. Split-second decisions are needed, and the complexity creates danger. All of this for a great cause, yet very little gain. I don't know about you, but I don't want Albert Einstein to be my pilot. I want great flying professionals that are allowed to easily and quickly take control of a plane.
Can pilots take control of planes now? Can they take control of the plane right currently?
The simple answer is yes.
Okay. Also, why do airplanes have certain technology on them or in them?
Why do they have certain technology?
Certain technology, certain software.
Well, you see, a plane is a very complex type of product.
Flying is essentially complex, too.
Because you're talking about many, many pounds. You're talking about a big brick being in the sky and flying with multiple lives on them that are inside this big-ass brick, if you would.
It's based, I would say it's like a bullet, a flying bullet.
Yeah,
it's a big-ass bullet.
It's a gigantic bullet, right? So there goes, a lot is involved when you're talking about actually flying it and not crashing. So yes, it is a very complex process, and it needs to be a very complex process.
Yes, and some of that process involves software.
Yes,
controls.
It does.
So the controls that operate without the pilot.
Yes.
And there are some controls that the pilot can take, I guess, liberty to operate.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So and for the most part, without these controls, you would think that flying would be more dangerous.
More dangerous. See, throughout the years,
regulations.
Yes.
Regulations.
Yes. Planes have become
more complex.
Yes. Throughout the years, they have. But you know what has also happened throughout the years? At the same time that these planes have become more complex.
And the instruments have become more complex, and instruments have become vast and
yes.
More intricate.
At the same time that all of that has been going on, less people have died as a result of flying on an airline. So one would have to figure that because of the complexity around aviation, it leads to more lives
being saved,
getting to the destination unscathed.
Yeah, technology does that.
Technology does that.
But see, when the technology goes wrong, Donald Trump has the most logical answer. His answer is straight path, right? Right?
Airplanes are too complex.
Yeah, it failed because it's too complex. It failed, so basically we need to roll back technology. Like when my CPU crashed back in the day, when my CPU crashed, the first thing I said was, you know what? It's too complex. They need to roll back some of this technology. This is too much. It's too complex. Your phone fails, same thing. What else? Your car breaks down.
Right.
It's because the technology is too complex.
So like with cars, you just brought up cars. So when they started to put airbags in them instead of having no airbags in them, That's complex. I mean, that's a complex process. You know, it's like, you can't do it. I can't do it. You know what I'm saying? So
I can't activate an airbag.
No.
No, I can, but
you need to know what you're doing.
It probably won't be in time.
But that would take some expertise. That would take somebody that actually knows what the hell they're doing. An expert, right?
Fuel emissions.
Yeah. These are all done. A lot of these decisions are made with safety in mind. What's interesting, though, is you remember, okay, so in 2017, there were 0 deaths attributed to flying on commercial airlines.
Yep, right.
0 deaths. It was the safest amount on record, of course, because it was 0, right? And now, this was a global total. 0 deaths globally. Do you know who took credit for that?
Yes, I do.
President Trump took credit globally for 0 deaths in the year of 2017.
So, all throughout that year 2017, what you are telling me is all commercial flights were being, I guess, flown using like those old propeller planes with the open tops. That's how, you know what I'm saying? Open with the open. That's how, you know how you used to have to wear the goggles?
No. It's actually the same kind of planes that you see now.
Nah, I don't believe it.
Same kind of planes, yeah. But like when there's a problem now, and it's not in the United States, but since there's been 2 problems with this specific type of airline, now President Trump is saying, well, see, the whole industry is just way too damn complex now. But, you know, back in 2017, that was all me. 0 death, that's all me.
But, you know, like, it's kind of hard to not take into account who he is when reading those tweets. Because I think, as of right now, or by now, you know, people know him as a narcissist.
Yes.
So everything, like, every statement that he issues about any topic always comes back to him and how he internally feels about himself. Now, that's not stated implicitly now. You kind of have to dig for that. And so when he talks about things being too complex, what he is saying is he thinks they're too complex. And when he says that we don't need Einsteins flying the plane, like he's almost saying that I could fly the plane. He's like, I can fly the plane, or people like me. So it's almost like revealing a lot about how he feels about himself. Because Albert Einstein will be a symbol for genius, right? So when he's talking about we don't need Einsteins flying the plane, he's just talking about regular cats. He's talking about
simple person.
Simple person.
See, flying should just be simple. It shouldn't be so complex.
He's talking about himself. He doesn't even realize it. He doesn't even realize. He's talking about himself.
How?
Because he's the opposite of Albert Einstein.
How much do planes weigh? Thousands of pounds? Because think about it, the plane itself.
Tons.
Yes. The plane itself is very heavy. And then you have hundreds of passengers as well, not including the staff. You're thousands of pounds, right? This guy just suggested deregulating the airline industry.
Because of a crash.
Because of a crash. Because I guess because if globally he took the credit in 2017, then these deaths would be on him. Because this is a global thing. Now, that whole line of thinking is so foolish, because to think that the President of the United States controls aviation globally is so dumb, it's hard to accurately describe just how stupid it is. Now, if he wants to take credit for what's going on in the United States of America, cool. If you wanted to celebrate that in 2017, 0 deaths, there were 0 deaths, in commercial airlines. Cool. But you know how many deaths were in 2016 concerning or related to the commercial flights? You know how many deaths? There were 0. How about 2015? 0. 2014?
So
0.
So what you're saying is aviation in general must have not been complex during those years. It must have not been complex, because that's the only way that you can get those type of statistics. It wasn't complex those years. It just started becoming complex.
President Trump is the dummy of the day, and it's not even close. It's not even close, man. He made this one easy for us.
I was about to say, but see, the thing is, it's like
this was too easy.
He is kind of always on the nomination block, though.
But this one he handed to us. Like there's certain times where it's like, okay, let me see. Okay, this is pretty dumb. But do I want to talk about this on the show? Okay, that's pretty dumb too. I don't even want to.
You see what he's doing, right? He's lowered the bar so much and he's so regularly stupid.
Yep. We're too used to it.
We're too used to it, so we're desensitized to it. So the only thing that jumps out at us is like the extremely stupid stuff.
The first sentence: airplanes are becoming far too complex. I don't need to read anything else. I could stop right there.
Says the man who wants to start a space force. Says the man who wants to invest money in a space force.
That must be simple, though. That must be simple to do.
Simpler? Yeah. Must be much simpler than
fighting wars in space.
Technology and airplanes must be simpler than the technology that's going to be used.
Much simpler
in the space force than in the space force. Okay.
All right. So we are going to we're going to end our commentary, and we're going to allow people to call us so that we can hear from you. All right. So let me put the phone number on the screen so that you will have that, so you can call in. The number is 669-900-6833. We would love to hear from you. Oh, you know what? I'm always putting on the wrong screenshot. All right. So that was from our caller last time, Tony. But I think the screenshot is on now. Let me just make sure. Yeah, there it goes. All right. So, yeah, the number to call in is 669-900-6833. I'm trying to set up the environment right now so that we can take your calls. We had a good number of calls on the last show.
We had like 5.
Yeah. And I believe some of them were new callers, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was on this show. Yeah, I think we had some new callers, I believe. Maybe Sharon. I think Sharon was the new caller. Yeah. All right. That one was really stupid. I don't know how many dummy of the days that we've done so far now. Maybe like 4 or 5.
See, I think Trump's is different because, see, the other one, like, I don't think the last one we did, but one of the other ones we did surrounded somebody losing their business. So they got like, I would be doing it a disservice. I'd be doing what happened to him as a disservice if I say he punched himself in the face. That was like, he punched himself in the face. He shot himself in the foot.
Yep.
He like hit himself in the balls.
All to own the libs.
All to own the libs. You know what I'm saying? So he lost his business. Like that the result of that, him being dumb, that took the cake. Yeah, but this one is probably just like more philosophically just distorted.
Like he can't go a day without embarrassing himself and this country. It's really difficult for him to do that.
He even had to go out of his way to, like, I guess to kind of smooth over him making a mistake. Saying Tim Apple, remember that? I was trying to save time. I was like, Apple is 2 syllables. His last name is 1. Like, really? Like, you were trying to save time? Like, just stop it. Like, you're so worried about...
He has done that many times, you know that? There's a video that Now This put together.
Oh, I saw that. Where he called,
oh, my gosh.
Yeah. You know what? See, it's not even, to me, it's not about him making a mistake. Because I think we all, like, make mistakes like that. Like, call somebody by the wrong name. I honestly don't think that is, like, I guess the most relevant, thing to point to. I think there's like a kind of like a bigger discussion behind that. There's a bigger issue behind that. To me, it's like Trump has never really had to learn or know people's names. Like remembering and knowing people's names, especially with people you were engaged with, in conversation, business deals. Like, you're the president. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's your job to, you know.
He doesn't care.
He doesn't care. So it's not about him just making mistakes or like flubs or whatever or gaffes. It points to like a mentality of his. He doesn't really care about people. So why even care about their names? Why care about remembering them?
But it also speaks to his fragile feelings too, because he lies about what he did. Oh, you know, I didn't. You know, no, I knew what I was doing. I knew I was calling him Tim Apple. It was only to save time. Really, man? Really? So your feelings your feelings are so fragile that you can't even stand to be criticized for flubbing something. Like, it's funny. If anybody did this, you would just laugh and be like, "Yo, that was funny,
that's
man.
funny.
That was funny."
And it's not because it's not like, I mean,
he doesn't say anything about you.
It doesn't. And the thing is, it's like
what you said about him not knowing names.
Not knowing
but that's
that.
because of his history.
That's, yeah.
You have to add something into.
I mean, if you think about it, it was funny, and it's not like Apple was out of place.
Right.
He was an executive.
Yeah.
Of Apple, so it actually made sense and it was funny.
All right, so we have our first caller.
It's not like he said like Tim Donut. You know what I'm saying? It's not like he said Tim Donut.
Oh, no, that would have been funny. All right, so we have our first call, and it's coming from the 980 area code. Caller, you are on the air live with LTMB. Hello, caller.
Yeah, this is Will from. I'm sorry, this is Will from North Carolina. How y'all doing?
What's going on, Will? How you doing tonight?
Oh man, I'm doing good. Let's see.
What's on your mind tonight?
Well,
hopefully not
a couple of things.
Hopefully not a lot.
It's not. You hope it's not a lot.
I'm just fucking with you, dog.
Well, I want to talk about a couple articles that I've seen in major publications that I would say, I mean, it's maybe a little bit surprising because I think most mainstream media obviously is pushing a certain narrative, and to see positive things come through or see some science come through that you know tries to break down common misconceptions is a good thing. I think that's what we need more of. I think that's the problem is, you know, we don't value education, and our mainstream media outlets are doing more propaganda than anything. But one thing, this was in the Atlantic I seen today. It was the title was "The Case for Getting Rid of Borders Completely," and the main, I would say, the main thing that I guess one of the main points was just talking about how morally wrong, and I guess probably from a natural law standpoint, how pretty ridiculous it is for governments and nation states to impose those kind of restrictions on their citizens. You know, that we can't go to any place on this planet, you know, that we might want to go to. And I just think we need to start taking a look at everything and kind of realize how ridiculous and unnecessary it is. There was a point in time where there was some scarcity of resources, of important resources, and thus monetarism, capitalism, and even communism. I think it's outdated as well. You know, I think we just have to look for a new way based on our new circumstances, and we are way too caught up in tradition.
Well, I mean, I think the whole idea about not having borders is, I think that's because of what we have brought about in many corners of this world. The devastation that we have, you know, that we have caused many types of people. We have created refugees. We have just torn up different communities, different regions. So, you know, like the whole idea is that if we stop doing those things, if we actually get to a place where we solve the mystery of why people are refugees, why are people coming across the border to the United States of America? Why do they want to come here? Why don't they want to come? Why don't they want to stay in their countries? I mean, that's the problem that we have to solve. And then, I don't think borders would be an issue at that point.
Yeah, because I think it's kind of like when people who talk about, being like these strict adherents to borders when it comes to people, but they're not a strict, I guess, in the same fashion or in the same way when it comes to capital coming across borders and capitalism exploiting people across borders.
Right.
They have nothing to say about that. You know what I'm saying? Because to multinational corporations, there's definitely no borders. There's definitely no borders to them. And the nature of capitalism, almost the nature of capitalism requires that, because capitalism requires this need to expand, like, endlessly. That's just the way. Yeah, that's just the way it works. That's the way capitalism works. It's supposed to constantly grow and expand, and the only way to do that is to become multinational and get your hands in other countries, and that's what they do. So I just think it's kind of I don't know. It just seems a bit hypocritical for anyone, especially those who are just so, these proponents of capitalism. Talk about borders.
But you know what people will point to? They'll point to the security of the United States of America. They'll point to drugs.
Fear, based on fear.
Yeah, it's based on fear. Like the whole drug argument is like I believe but I think it's a phony argument anyways, because one, the whole war on drugs, like we know what that's about. That's about imprisoning people. That's not actually about keeping people safe and off of drugs. Because we could do that with legalizing drugs.
And for any representative of the United States to pearl clutch over drugs coming over the border when the CIA has been the biggest drug dealer on the planet.
Drug dealer.
Man, get out of here. Like, like keeping our borders safe and get the drugs out. Get out of here. CIA and the pharmaceutical industry is way worse.
Hell yeah, man.
Way
legal
worse.
drugs, though.
I know. Yeah, some legal and some illegal. So, I mean, it's like...
We have...
Like the whole... Yeah, go
we
ahead.
Have to... I'm sorry, I was just going to say, we have to point out this hypocrisy as much as we can, because everybody's guilty. Everybody's part of this. It's like normal. It's become normalized because, ever since we come into this world, we're affected by the society that we're seeing, and this stuff becomes normal, but it's just so ridiculous. And the other thing I was going to say is when you see like the bombing campaigns that the U.S. government's carrying out, or Israel against the Palestinians, I don't look at it as what it looks like to me is what I see is people killing other people. I mean, that's what I see. Human beings killing other human beings, and an organism that's at war with itself is doomed to fail.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
I don't think I have anything to add.
Yeah, I know. That's a good way to close this call out, man. Really appreciate it, bro.
Yeah, man.
All right, man. Have a good night.
On the line, but we appreciate you calling in and addressing something that needs to be talked about, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Y'all have a good night.
All right, you too, man. All right, we're going to go to 562 area code. You're on the air live with LTMB. Who's on the line with us?
Hi, LTMB.
Hey, Saab, what's going on, man?
Nothing much. I just got out of college. I guess I'll make this quick because it's getting kind of late. My question today is, I'm curious about the welfare state. I'm just like, this has really been eating at me. Like, a bunch of my friends are talking about welfare being bad because it gives people lazy, doesn't give them something to work and stuff like that. And food tickets are wrong because it also doesn't give them work. So I was wondering are guidelines good or welfare is good? I'm curious about that.
Are what good? Or is what good?
welfare and food stamps.
Well, it's a fallacy that welfare creates laziness. There are lazy people. You know, you can't get around that. There are lazy people that don't want to work, that don't want to do much of anything. You can't do anything about that. If you provide for them or if you don't, I mean, they're still going to be the same type of person. Most people are not like that. Most people actually do want to work. But there are many communities where opportunities are limited. There are many situations where people need additional assistance, and the government should be there to help out. That's what a government is for the people.
What kind of environment did we grow up in, Will? Middle class?
Yeah, middle class. Yeah, in the suburbs.
In the suburbs. Growing up in this environment, it's like, I got family in like at different, wealth levels, economic levels. So like I've spent time in rural areas. I've spent time in like the city, and I've spent time in the suburbs. And one thing I noticed about all three of those places is they have lazy people. And for the most part, I did come up in the suburbs, and I was surrounded by lazy people. Surrounded by lazy people. And you know what? I'm thinking that the higher you go, probably the higher up the economic ladder you go, the more laziness you see within the kids. Because see, they're coming up in a situation where they have everything they want, and it's based on what their parents do. And even like kind of existing in a middle class environment, I saw that within like the kids whose parents made $40,000, $50,000, and $60,000.
Yep.
But the difference is, I saw a lot of those kids succeed because their parents knew somebody, or their parents had a business. So they just got a job at daddy's business or their uncle's business or somebody they knew, somebody their parents, knows. So a lot of these people were insulated by privilege, and they were lazy, but they kind of got off easy because of who their parents knew and their connection. So I saw laziness even in a middle-class environment.
And actually, that's a good segue to, and just shortly, we do have to get some other calls, but just earlier today, there was an announcement that very wealthy people, even some celebrities, were paying, they were involved in this scheme to get their kids into, I believe, like, very high-profile colleges like Yale. So they were paying certain types of money, thousands of dollars, and there was this, like I said, this criminal scheme so that this one guy was going to develop a fake profile, and somebody was going to take the ACT or the SAT for them to get them into the college, not on the backs of what they have actually done during high school, but no, fraudulently. So I don't know these particular kids. I don't know if they're lazy or not. But obviously they
didn't do the work necessary to actually deserve.
Go-getters enough to get that grade
and actually get in legitimately.
Exactly. So lazy people exist in poor communities. Lazy people exist in middle-class communities. Lazy people exist in very wealthy communities.
But wealth insulates laziness.
Yes, it does.
Wealth definitely insulates laziness.
You will probably make a better case that wealth promotes laziness than welfare promotes laziness. I think you could probably make a better case. But regardless, laziness exists everywhere. So the whole welfare argument is a fallacy.
Trump, that's a good example.
Yeah. You just, like I said, there are people with certain needs, and we have talked about these communities, these disenfranchised communities where people lack opportunities and they do need help to make something better of themselves, or just to stay where they're at. Just make the bare minimum to, I guess, prevent them from going into homelessness. So that's just it. It's a fallacy.
My situation too. It's just like I had no clear argument to like support deadlines of food and stuff like that. I was called for just like getting food from like from my schools and stuff. But I didn't know it was free because like the government like gives food out to students who make a certain type, parents make a certain type amount of money. And then like, oh, okay, I get that food because I like eating. I need food. I never eat anything throughout the day. My friend was just, I need laziness and stuff like that. And I was just, what? but then like I have no real clear real clear argument against it.
But see, another way to go with this too is that welfare is entitlements. Okay, so people pay into these entitlement programs. So I remember we did a story way like a long time ago, maybe like over 2 years ago, about and Fox News was reporting on this, and there was this woman in this grocery store that was like chastising this man for using food stamps. And like she was like, well, you're lazy, you know, so I'm paying for your food stamps, I'm paying for this and that.
He was like, I work 40 hours a week.
I work, man, but see, I've earned this too, because see, everybody pays into that stuff. So then when you get to the point where, oh, I have to use it, then you're chastised about it, you're criticized for actually using what you've paid into. Why is it there in the first place? You know, it's
basically like insurance.
Exactly, man.
It's basically like insurance. Like everybody pays into it, and then when an accident happens, they give you an insurance payout. That's the same thing. Like unemployment.
Unemployment insurance, man. So anyway, like I said, it's a fallacy, and it's only meant to, you know, shame the less fortunate. But we appreciate you calling in, Sav, and asking us that question.
Bye, Mike. Bye, Will.
See ya, man.
Keep keeping it. Bye, you too.
All right. Don't know who was next. I'm going to go to 440. I think that's the next one on the list. 440, you're on the air live with LTMB.
Hello, brothers. How you doing?
Good, man. How you doing, man? Who's this?
Okay. My name is Tony. I'm from, I'm in the Cleveland area, Bedford Heights, whatever, you know.
Oh, wait a second. Wait a second, Tony. So you live in Cleveland. So you a Cleveland Browns fan?
Browns, Cavaliers, which they just lost to the 76ers, but what can I say?
So Tony, so have you heard the news?
About what?
About Odell Beckham.
I heard the Browns was making they were kind of trying to make a deal for him in the middle of the season, but it fell through.
Nope.
Now, I haven't been on the sports today, but
I didn't even
if they get here, we're going to Super Bowl.
It's done. It's done. I just saw a notification come across my tablet during the show. So your boy
good damn, man.
So your boy Baker Mayfield. Ooh.
Good gosh, man.
That's gonna shit. Oh, excuse me, brother.
See, go ahead. That's real, right? So I see real emotion.
We got a hell of a defense already. Okay, come on. We're going Super Bowl. Seriously.
I didn't mean to derail, you know, what you wanted to call about. I just wanted to point that out because you said you're from Cleveland. I just felt the need to give somebody from Cleveland some good news.
Let's say that for another show, because I would love to rap with you brothers about that. But, you know, I came up during the time when they first started welfare and stuff. So I'm telling my age, okay?
All right, go ahead.
Okay. You know, and I seen what happened. It was actually paid to keep the black man out the home because you had a brother in the house. They cut your benefits off, okay? And what it was an easy way to get a check every week. If you had 4 or 5 kids, you could get about $1,000 a month. Now, $1,000 a month during the 70s, I mean, come on. Like if you live in the projects, you paying project rent. I mean, that's why when I was coming up, I seen people in the jets driving Lincolns and Cadillacs, okay? So you're right, it is a lazy way to get paid, but the government induced this to help, because it's all about destroying the black community. That's what it's really all about, okay? Just like they flooded the damn hoods all across America with drugs, with crack cocaine and stuff. You know, it's all about destroying the black community. And as a brother, and an older brother, I'm older than you, I got kids your age, okay? When we sit back and watch this stuff, we have to understand one thing. As a community, I looked at stuff with Bernie Sanders and Julian Castro and all that other stuff. I looked at that stuff. As a community, we just need to be on code because this is not the end of anything. Okay? They're going to keep coming at us because we're the biggest threat they got. Be honest with you, brothers. When the brothers came together in the 60s and the 70s, burnt down some cities, got riots and everything, United States government was so damn afraid. That's why they put the damn crack out there. See? So, you know, if we get together as a community, can't nobody beat us. They already know that. Okay? You put 10 white boys out there on a basketball court, put five brothers out there, who do you think gonna win the damn game? See? They already know this.
I'm with you on the, like I said, with the, and I just, this kind of just repetitive of what I said earlier about the whole welfare thing. It's just a ploy, man. It's just to shame people, and like you said, black people especially.
There you go.
People of color, they've been doing that for generations. We know that people gonna be lazy. There are many black people that are lazy and will use that money to do nothing to improve their lives. But we also know that the majority of people, they don't want to just accept this little bit of money. They want to use that to at least cater to what they need to get done and possibly propel them to something better. Nobody wants to be stuck in some impoverished community. Nobody wants that for themselves.
No, that's crazy. That's crazy. Okay? But I want to ask you one thing, brother.
Yeah.
Okay? If there's a job out there and they saying they hired today at a certain job, let's say Amazon somewhere, who is the most people you're going to see in that line to get a job? You're going to see predominantly all young black people trying to get that damn job. See? We don't want to be in this poverty situation. This ain't our thing. Black people coming out of Reconstruction built towns, cities across the darn United States of America. The only thing that stopped it was white supremacists coming there and killing and raping and tearing them down because out of jealousy. We're the only people who educated ourselves 30 years coming out of slavery where you didn't have no education at all, and we educated ourselves. See, that's what they want to stop.
You know, like this economic conversation we're having right now, it kind of reminds me of the conversation that me and Will have about police brutality. And we always rack our brains to figure out, like, why do they insist on constantly having to pay billions and billions of dollars out in settlements when they can just not engage in abusive behavior? It just seems like an easy, position to have. Like, hey, let's just treat these people right. Then we don't have to constantly pay out these billions of dollars. It makes sense.
It doesn't make no sense.
Hey, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't make sense on a if you're just talking about equity, but it makes sense if the whole goal is to invest in oppression. So they're willing to make these payouts because they are invested in oppression, and they will continuously make these payouts because that's what they're invested in. I see the same thing happening when you're talking about the system of welfare, like you said. Like, the goal was to destroy a group of people because they were dangerous. So what you do is you criminalize the males, you take them out of the household, and then as a consequence of that, you'll have a bunch of single mothers. And so they're willing to try to solve these problems of the males not being in the house by kind of giving them the welfare, because they're trying to kind of offer some sort of recompense for a system that they created. And they will constantly fund this welfare because they know it doesn't actually fix the situation so pretty much it perpetuates.
May I say this, little brother?
What's up?
Okay, I just want to say this right quick, okay? Because you got a good point there. You got a darn good point there, okay? I just wanted to say this one thing, okay? When they took the black male out the household, criminalize him, put him out there because you didn't have no job, so what you got to go out there and do? You got to make a hustle, okay? You got to go out there. They put crack out here on the street. The United States government, the ones that we pay taxes to, put the black man out here on the street to sell crack. And then you got police raids. I remember seeing people throw it against damn buildings, excuse me by my language, throw it against buildings, and they had nothing to do with it, but they had raids going on all around, and I live in Cleveland, okay? Okay? And I tell you, I've seen this happen. Some of those guys that are still in the penitentiary today for selling crack, they want to take their kids and sell and give them Ritalin and shit that's based on the same thing they was out here selling to put them back out here again. See? And this is, I mean, and I'm not trying to, and I understand that as a people, we need to just start thinking for ourselves. That's what we need to do. You know, we need to start thinking for ourselves of black business, black banks, everything else. But see, the thing is, the government does not want us to come together. Either here, on the continent, nowhere. Have you brothers ever heard of memorandum number 46?
Now, what is it?
Okay, that consists of how the first president that came together where the majority of blacks voted for him, Jimmy Carter, back in the 70s, and a lot of other people came together and said they cannot let black Americans unite with black Africans because it would be devastating to the United States and Europe. Look it up, brothers. You know, look it up, because you're intelligent, brothers. I like your platform. It's new and I like it, you know. But look that up.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll
look
do
it
that.
up.
We'll do that.
We ain't too new. So
Yeah, I
we've
know,
been
I know,
around
I
for a
know,
minute.
I know,
Maybe
but yeah.
maybe news to a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I got kids your age, you know, and I've been around for a minute. I got more years behind me than I got in front of me.
Well, we appreciate you calling in, man. And
yeah, man.
We definitely appreciate your perspective.
Hey, keep doing the work. Keep doing the work, brother.
Appreciate it,
All right, man. Hope you call in again.
All right,
man.
appreciate you. All right, brother.
All right, that was Tony. You know what he was talking about quickly, that hypocrisy that he's talking about, that always rubbed me the wrong way. It never entered my ears the right way. Because when you're talking about, you hear politicians, figures, these political figures, pundits always talking about the black home and how it's dismantled. The black fathers aren't in the home.
Yeah, how the fuck did that happen?
How did that happen? It's not like government policies has enabled that, right? Like, that has nothing to do with why they're broken homes in these communities, right? Nah. It's not like private prisons had anything to do with that, the CIA, or nah. That had nothing to do with the effects. Well, had nothing to do with the situations that happened decades ago and still continue on today. All right, so let's go to 443 area code.
What up, fellas?
What's going on, Court, man? How you doing tonight?
What's up, man?
I'm doing all right. I ain't talked to y'all in a couple weeks, I believe.
Yeah, man. It's been a week, man.
Been missing your perspective, man.
Yeah.
I fell down this rabbit hole of knife making.
Oh, wait. On Reddit?
Look. I found out how to sharpen this old butcher's knife that I found. And I got this thing razor sharp out the gate. It was ridiculous. And then my nephew started bringing me machetes and fillet knives and hunting knives and all kinds of shit. And I was sharpening the shit out of them. And I was like, you know what? There aren't enough knives in the world to sharpen. I need to start making knives. So then I went out and got some equipment and started making knives. Made my first knife and everything. And shit was awesome. I was like, oh, damn. And then I turned around and I was like, wait, LTMB. I don't forgot about LTMB. I got to get back on LTMB.
So you got lost in Never Land. Yeah, man. Got lost in Never
Yeah,
Land.
man. I've been sitting downstairs in my machine shop. That's right. I put together a little machine shop, just making knives. So, so I've been listening to y'all's conversations, and I kind of just want to dance all over this one. So the whole, universal basic income thing, I'm for it. I am definitely for it. I think every American deserves to have some type of safety net that comes into their households every pay period. Mm-hmm. Every 2 weeks, about the average pay period for the average American. Every 2 weeks, the average American should get some type of a stipend from the government because the government makes a shit ton of money off of us. We have the best GDP of any country out there. Americans work. And you can talk all, not you, but, the hypothetical you. You can talk all the shit you want about, welfare moms and lazy black people this. And, I find it awful funny how, it's so lazy for a black person to have some food stamps, but a white mother lying and bribing college officials to get their lackluster average children into high caliber Ivy League schools. Well, you know, that's just parents helping their children. I mean, I heard this shit on POTUS today, right? Dan Abrams show. The guy's a lawyer. I guess he's some big hotshot lawyer. He posed this question. Should we feel sorry for these parents because, you know, as parents, we would do anything for our children? I was like, fuck you, Dan.
I saw that too.
Seriously?
I saw that too. I was
like, fuck you, Dan. I was like, any one of us, middle class, low class, working stiffs, ever pulled some shit like that, we wouldn't be on national news. Quickly. We'd be in the fucking penitentiary.
Hell yeah.
Done. End of discussion.
And no sympathy either.
It's Laura Loughlin off of Family. What is it? What's that show? Full House. The new Full House, right?
Yeah.
No, since it's her. Now it's all parents will do anything for their children. We should show some mercy and some man, fuck that dude. And as far as Andrew Yang goes, I'm glad you guys put him up. I heard he got enough signatures to get into the first debate, and I heard he got it. Okay. So maybe he does get into the first debate. I don't know if he'll make it because Americans tend to shoot themselves in the foot whenever somebody starts talking about helping out regular Americans. Mm-hmm. You know, regular Americans will just be like, oh, we don't need this help. You know, we don't want to be considered lazy or a charity case, which is stupid. You know, I mean, these corporations, they come in and talk about they're going to build a stadium, and all of a sudden they don't pay taxes for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and nobody bats a fucking eye.
Yeah, corporate subsidies are never demonized, but if you want to invest in actually helping people, that's always shamed. And he had this one quote during that interview. He said, the best way we can empower African-American businesses is to put money into the hands of African-American consumers. So that was talking about what we can do to actually address like a black agenda, what we can do for the black communities. And I agree with that, but it goes far beyond that too. That addresses every community that is in the United States of America. If you actually want to do something about the economy and encourage growth in the economy, you have to put money in the hands of the consumers, which are the poor people, which are the middle class people. If you want to foster that type of growth, that's the only thing that you can do.
Yeah, it's like this TED Talk that I watched years and years ago, and I used to work with a really conservative guy, you know, and he would always talk about can't give out freebies to the poor, you know, only the rich people deserve freebies. And I showed him this TED Talk. Now, they buried this TED Talk. You can't barely find it. But it was a real rich guy, he was a billionaire, and he said it. He said it plain out. He was like, listen, if you give me extra money in my taxes, I'm just going to save it. I have everything I could possibly need, and all my family has everything they could possibly need too. But if you give some middle-class working stiff who's making $50,000 a year an extra $1,000 in his taxes, that money is going to burn a hole in their pocket, and they will spend it right back into the economy. And they buried that video. And why do you think they buried that video? They buried that video because they know that's the truth. They know that's the truth. But giving all these people this money, these rich people, these tax cuts, they don't spend that money on the community. That money gets offshore. It gets sent to the Cayman Islands. It gets sent to buy back stocks. It does not get put back into the community. These people don't give a shit about the community. You see very few billionaires that are self-aware to the point where they're like, yes, I make too much money and I feel like I'm guilty about it. Most billionaires are like, you know what? Fuck those poor people. If they're too stupid to vote in a government that looks out for them, I'll gladly take their money. And that's pretty much how it works.
Agree. What you got something to say?
Oh, no, I ain't got nothing to say, man. He's just, you know, spitballing like he always does,
Hell yeah,
man.
Shit. But yeah, we agree, man. It's a big con job, and I'm glad that Andrew Yang is telling it like it is. And I didn't know that he had crossed that threshold already. He said that he was on his way, so maybe that Breakfast Club interview did him some good. It was just a few days ago, so maybe that did cross him over.
Like I said, you got to tap into a different audience. You cannot constantly cater to that cable news audience if you want to get those numbers up, man.
So that's great, man. That's what I like to hear. Now I just want Marianne Williamson to do the same thing because we need those type of voices on that stage, man, to rock that boat, man. I'd love to see these other candidates try to attack them. It will, man. I'm that will be a sight to see, man. But Anyway, Court.
They don't put that shit on CNN, man, or MSNBC, because, you know, if they put that stuff that you showed on Hot 97 with Marianne Williamson and Andrew Yang, that would set the country on fire.
Of course
It'd be like 3 Bernie Sanders. It'd be like 3 of them. But they're instead, like I said, they're trying to slow roll anybody who has anything to say about helping middle class and working class people.
Yep.
And I shouldn't even say middle class and working class. I should just say working class.
Just working class, yeah.
Because really that's what it is. It's working class.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean?
Poor people, middle class people, man, that's the working class for you right there, man. Let's do something, you know? All right, Court. We appreciate hearing your voice after this long break, man. We hope we don't have to wait so long for you to bless us with
don't fall down another Reddit hole.
Exactly,
Reddit rabbit hole.
Or if you do, just let us know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Like let us know what you find down there.
Yeah, true that, yo. Send us like a little shot, a little message. Be like, I'm on my way back. You know what I'm saying?
All right, fellas. I'll try to get y'all a little message if I go off on any tangents and shit.
All right, Corey. You have a good night, man.
All right, fellas. Y'all take it easy.
All right. We're going to go to 770 area code. You're on there live with LTMB.
Hello?
Hello? What's going on?
It's Tony?
Yeah, it's Tony.
What up, man?
What's up, man? Another Tony. What's up, man? How you doing tonight?
No, I'm doing pretty good. I was just going to talk about that one story that you mentioned with Mr. Yang. He was talking about correct me if I'm wrong, but he was talking about the presidency and they shouldn't they shouldn't be getting that salary after they leave office if they're going to go make money on Wall Street and stuff.
Yeah, he said he's for like increasing it by 10 times from $400,000 to $4 million. But what comes with that is that they won't be able to serve on any corporate boards and they won't be able to get speaking fees after they serve their terms.
Oh, okay. I'm seeing. This is the whole reason that thing started up. It was like called the Presidential Fund Act or the Presidential Act, and it was passed in like the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
But there's always been a problem with the presidents because some of them were real poor, right?
Uh-huh.
Like before they became president, they were poor. They became president, and then when they get out of office, they're like living like hand to mouth. The last one that it was a real problem for was Truman.
Huh.
He was a real poor man.
Uh-huh.
And even in spite of being president, and he could have went on to like work at Wall Street, become a speculator and all that other stuff, but he didn't want to do that. He refused to do that. That was his one redeeming factor because he was a notorious racist, anyways. But he didn't want to do that. And then there was other presidents that also they died poor. They were penniless. Madison and a couple others of the ones back in the 1700s. They were so poor. They died broke. So they did that. They did that in the 50s. They gave the president a salary. Now, the one that used to bug me a lot is when I go on the internet and talk on Facebook, and people be like, "Why are people mad that Obama's doing it?" Blah blah blah. No, people are mad because he went off and did that. Because that's always been another topic throughout history is that they don't want to see the president going off becoming a speculator for businesses and making mega dollars because he used to be president.
Right.
That's always been an issue. But talking to some of the people, it was like, well, they're just mad because the black man's doing it. No, they're mad because was the fucking president. Now he's fucking doing this. He's grifting all of a sudden.
Right. Exactly.
But my thing is what they should do is if the president wants to do that, because not every president's going to be on the up and up. If the president does that, they should just cut the salary off. Oh, okay. Well, you're getting fucking $1 million a year to talk on Wall Street. No more salary.
Exactly.
That's what should fucking happen.
Because it does defeat the purpose why the presidential pension was set up in the first place.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. It's like no, dude, you don't get the $400,000 and the $2 million a year from Wall Street. No, it's either one or the other.
Because we know what comes with it. See, because if they're gonna finish their terms and they're gonna engage in that type of behavior, we know what the game is. We know that that just didn't come to be. Like they stepped out of office and was like, oh, hey, somebody's offering me a speaking engagement. Okay, yeah. Like, no, this was set up long before, and you probably did I don't know how many things for whoever you're going to speak to, that corporation, that organization, whatever. So we need to we need to eliminate the corruption that is there, that is in place for these presidents that while they're in office. It just has to be. Like I said, I've never heard somebody actually propose something like that. That's why it does sound radical, but it's radical in the right way. Something has to be done about that. Imagine if we had something like that in place for this
keep doing the same thing. It doesn't work. That's another thing that always pisses me off talking with Democrats, especially most of the loyal Democrats. And it's like, no, this isn't working. No, we can't be fighting amongst ourselves, so don't do anything is basically what you're fucking telling me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we saw that as the Democratic position in 2016. We can't, no, it's too far. We can't. I would love to hear Andrew Yang say something about that on the debate stage. Oh my gosh, I would love to hear somebody say that.
That has always bugged me personally ever since ever since Clinton left office. And it's like, okay, he's making, because I think it was $400,000 even when he left. Right. And it's like, okay, he's getting $400,000 and now he's talking to Wall Street, and every single time he talks, he's making like fucking $250,000. Yeah. It's like, no, what the fuck?
Well, wasn't the narrative that like they left office in debt? I think I heard that, right?
Yeah, I mean, Clinton's.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. Yeah. I think that I don't know how true that is. I think that was like to justify their grift after post presidency. Yeah. It makes it seem more like as a means of survival.
Right.
Yeah, but it's like he kept doing it so much, and it's like how his lifetime income. It's up into like the hundreds of millions of dollars. It's like, come on, man, give me a break.
Yep. Agreed, man.
Yeah, that's all I want to talk about, though.
All right, we appreciate you calling in, Tony, because that's definitely something to talk about, and we hope that Andrew Yang can have a platform to discuss that, especially on that debate stage, man. I hope it comes up, but it won't. But maybe he can fit it in somewhere. I don't know. But anyway, talk to you next time.
Have a good night.
All right, man.
All right.
All right, so I think we got one more caller, and that is coming from the 317 area code. You are on the air. You are on the air live with LTMB. Who are we speaking to tonight? I hear myself.
Hi, what's up, fellas? This is Kane X.
This who? Who again?
This is Kane X.
Kane X?
Yes, sir.
All right, what's going on, Kane? What you got for us tonight?
Well, I mean, I just want to kind of educate people a little bit about a lot of the hysteria concerning reparations. I just kind of feel like people jumping the gun on the subject, and I think the ADOS movement is kind of getting a little bit ahead of themselves. I just don't know how realistic it is for us to assume that we could just get it pushed through like at the snap of a finger, So I think people need to slow down a little bit and re-strategize their movements.
Well, what you're talking about with I guess getting it passed through with the snap of the finger or somewhat relatively quickly that's not what's being suggested whatsoever. I mean, really, ADOS. I guess you can categorize it as somewhat of a new movement. I think it goes back maybe a couple years, but the push for reparations has been going back many, many, many decades. So, like the overall target is one and the same. So I don't think anybody has any illusions as to how difficult this is going to be. And I think that's including ADOS people.
Nah, man. From what I don't know, from what I'm seeing, they they really do think that they could just people's already. From what I'm seeing, people are really expecting it to go down in 2020. I'm just like.
Like how soon?
I don't think it's like real constructive to get like, I guess, to focus the conversation on, I guess, other people's expectations, because they're going to vary across the board. I think whatever tactics you are seeing, maybe some you disagree with, some you agree with. I think if someone is, I guess, implementing some sort of tactic that is very aggressive, thinking that something is going to get, or guess with the thought that something is going to get done, I think that is a matter of how unlikely it is. So whatever you see and how hard you see people pushing, that's just a product of it being an unlikely venture. That's a product of it being something hard to come by. So you have to push that hard for something that's highly unlikely and something that is going to have a lot of pushback. So I see where you're coming from. Like, you know, I see where you're coming from. You are coming from the place where you don't want like people's expectations to outpace reality. And I'm cool with that.
Right.
But like, I would think that for something that's such a divisive issue, something that's so, I don't know, has a low probability of, you know, being taken seriously, I think you kind of have to approach it with a level of fervor and a level of energy that is way out there to even get the conversation going. So I think that's maybe why you're seeing that. You know what I'm saying? That's probably why you're seeing it that way, and it's why you're seeing the level of attention. But I'll let you finish because we run out of time.
I just wanted to throw my little perspective on it. Like the people who actually understand what it's going to take for it to become a reality need to start putting it out there that, you know, there is a strategy that's going to have to take place before, you know, we can actually get to the goal. You know what I mean? Like, people shouldn't be so presumptuous that it's just going to, like they can get it. Like, they need to go through the proper steps. It's like, well, I want everybody to get on the same page about, basically.
Well, look, we understand what you're saying, and you know, I guess we'll have a little bit more to respond with. We are running out of time, so we'll respond just after we wrap up this call. But we appreciate you calling in. I think, you said your name was Kane X. I don't believe we've heard from you before on this show, so thank you for calling in, and hope to hear from you again, man.
For sure. Right on, man.
All right, so. Look, I believe Kane X brought up something that was worth discussing. And really, I think that's where you were going too. Look, the subject of reparations and what ADOS is trying to do is really not different than any other type of progressive idea that we want to see established in the United States of America. If we want to push for universal health care, a single payer health program, we can't do it timidly. You know, we know how difficult it's going to be to actually implement it. We know how difficult it's going to be to actually implement reparations or anything that looks like reparations. Again, there's many different ideas of what reparations are, but we know like how hard. I think anybody that's reasonable, anybody that has any type of expertise in the matter, anybody that's looked into the past too. Because if you looked in the past, you'll notice that many people have advocated for this for many, many years. So that tells you right there how difficult it's actually going to be. And we don't have many leaders that are actually talking about it. So that, again, that tells you how difficult it's going to be. So for anything that you actually want to see that really is for the benefit of people, for the benefit of a large majority of people, man, it's going to be terribly difficult to pass. So I don't think that we need to kind of burden ourselves with saying, let's set up these realistic goals. Like it's going to be 10 years, 20 years before it happens. Nah, we can just move forward and keep pushing as hard as we can to make sure that it does happen. Is it the case that it might not happen for 20 years, 30 years, something like that? It's definitely possible. I can't tell you when single payer is going to come. I have no idea because we don't know who's going to be elected in 2020. We don't know who's going to be elected in 2024. I mean, how long is it going to take to actually get implemented? How long is it going to take to set up tuition-free public colleges and universities? How long is it going to do? How long is it going to be to actually address poverty and the mass incarceration? I mean, like all these things that we want to do, including reparations, it's going to take time, but you have to push forward as hard as you can. Like, forget the realistic expectations.
I think maybe, you know, Kane was kind of more maybe focused on, I guess, the organizing. That's what it sounded like. It sounded like he was more concerned about the organizing and how well people are doing it.
But look, if people are saying, look, we're going to do this, like it's going to happen in 6 months, like I don't think it's prudent to like say it's gonna happen by the end of the year. I don't think it's prudent to do that. Like, don't set up a timetable. Don't set up like some kind of schedule, a calendar.
Yeah, I don't think
like
that's
just
smart.
say, look, we want to, you know, like we have goals to meet. This was on the list. This is who we have to talk to. This is the strategy we must employ. We have to get here. We know where we want to get, but the time frame, we know how difficult that's going to be. We know how many hands are going to be involved in this process, and like I said, how difficult that's going to be. So to set up a calendar is if anybody's doing that, then yeah, I wouldn't agree on that. Yeah.
But like you said, that can apply to everything.
It can apply to everything.
Organizational integrity applies to everything, which I still think is important. You know, important point that Kane brought up.
No doubt.
Boy, I will say the comment section has been a bunch of smoking fire tonight, boy.
A lot about
a lot of smoking fire. A lot of smoking fire. It's good to see that.
I did go back and see some of the you know, like I said, you know, I already knew about ADOS or anything, but I hadn't seen the actual video of Angela Rye talking about, like, you know, the whole Russian bot thing or whatever like that. And then, of course, you know, multiple videos about, you know, what she had to say and this and that. That was ridiculous for her to just come out of her mouth and say she thinks it's Russian bots. Because there was no evidence to suggest that. It was just...
Yeah, like, why would they be Russian bots now?
Yeah.
Like, she acts as if, like, the push for reparations via any organization or group, you would have to say that they're bots too.
Yeah. Like, why this hashtag? Like, why this movement right here?
Because it's the movement making a lot of noise. And she said that before she knew anything.
Before she knew anything, though. I mean, there was no evidence that she provided or anything like that. It was a real irresponsible statement. I'll definitely say that.
Yeah, but see, again, she's been carrying the bucket for a corporate network for a while. I think it's just instinctual. They don't bring you on for no reason. They'll bring Angela Rye on to kind of like admonish some racist Republicans every now and then, and she does make sense a lot of times. She does have common sense, and that's really they bring her on to do. Yeah. That's really they all bring on to do, and now she's being used to kind of shit on legitimate black organizations. So they're definitely using her. She don't know it though, but she getting paid, so she all good. She's all good. Her pockets is fine.
All right, so yeah, we're right over. We're right over 3 hours. So yeah, this already went longer than what we were expecting, and we didn't get to everything that we wanted to get to tonight. But we do have another show for you on Thursday. I was thinking about something else. We do have a contributor in the super chat, and that is the famous Gaillard Randon. One of our most loyal supporters, Gaillard Randon. We appreciate you, Gaillard Randon, for always believing in us. You have to believe in us to, you know, break us off
with your taco money.
Yeah, with that money, man. You gotta love us to some degree, man. But yeah, we're right back at you, man. Much love to you. I don't believe we have any new patrons on Patreon unless the notifications escape my notice. No, I did not. We don't have any new patrons on Patreon. But yeah, definitely a shout out to all of our patrons on patreon.com for consistently contributing to our plight and to this show. We have stated many times that the goal is to upgrade the camera system here. Because even as I see on the camera tonight, you know, we're both wearing white or a kind of white. So it's different. I can see just even the complexion of us is a little bit different than if we were wearing a different color. Because remember, we used to go through that when we had the white background, and it was just it wasn't great.
It was like
it wasn't great.
It was like an off white. It was like a pearly white.
Yeah, it just.
What was it called? Not perfect white. What was it called?
Oh yeah, I can't remember now. I can't remember now.
You know what I'm talking about,
yeah,
right?
I know what you're talking about.
It's like perfect white or
something less
real white.
Yeah, I can't remember. But yeah, that was no good. and then we tried the black, and that. Oh boy, that was bad. Yeah. That was real bad. That was worse than the white. So yeah, hopefully we can hopefully probably do away with the green screen, but we'll see what it looks like. But yeah, we definitely have to get the camera first. So that's next on the list. Yeah, that's next on the list. Really, that's what we need to really upgrade this program. We definitely want to do some interviews, and I believe like on the last show we talked about contacting the campaigns of Andrew Yang and Marianne Williamson, which we will be doing, and hopefully we can get them on live for the show, since we do have the capability to interview them live on the show now. So a bunch of good things that we want to do. Next week, I think it'll be next week. Have y'all heard of the Choco Challenge? Anybody heard of the Choco Challenge? So there is this like a spicy, very hot chocolate. This little piece of chocolate, and it's supposed to be very, very dangerous.
It's like an extension of like the chip challenge.
Yeah, exactly, that chip. I forgot what that chip was called.
Me neither.
Yeah, but anyway, it's a very spicy chip. But $5 of the proceeds goes to prostate cancer research. So it's definitely for a good cause. But I and my man Mike.
I don't know, man. It depends, man.
It does. I believe it is dark chocolate.
Does it have milk in it?
Nah.
No milk?
No.
Sometimes dark chocolate has milk in it, but if it doesn't, I'll do it.
From what I heard, it does not. So I believe we will be doing that. I think it takes about a week for it to come here. So probably on Thursday, maybe Tuesday. I don't know, but we'll be doing that on the show live. We've seen some of the videos from the Choco Challenge, and people have not been handling it well whatsoever. I doubt how hot is this though. I don't know. I doubt how hot it is.
It's always the doubters, man.
I doubt how hot it is. Man.
So you think it's just like for production value or for reaction value?
I'm sure that
the reactions. You think that they're kind of like playing up the reaction for the camera? Like these reactions ain't genuine. They're not organic. They're kind of like exaggerated.
I've seen some that they were definitely playing it up. Okay. Definitely exaggerated responses. Okay. So we'll see. It's gonna be just raw reactions. I will be prepared though. Water. I will have some milk. I believe. Yeah, my wife said it's good to have bread. Whatever. So yeah, we'll be doing that on the show. Like I said, it'll either be Tuesday or Thursday. Don't torture yourselves. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Like I said, it's for a good cause.
See, one person watching out for us.
It's for a good cause. It's for prostate cancer research. Which, like I said, we can do something for cancer research. I'm all for that. And it'll be for a little bit of pain, but it's all temporary. It's all temporary pain, man. You grown men.
Yeah, it ain't gonna kill you.
It's not gonna kill you, man. I'm good. Ice cream and bread, Forsaken Companion says.
Yeah, you need something that's cold and heavy.
Now, see, I don't know about the cold though. Like, I remember being somewhere and I was eating some the hottest wings that they had. It was me and TJ actually. We were eating the hottest wings that they had. It took us like an hour to eat like 10 wings. That's how hot it was.
Because you had to take a break in between each one.
Yes, we took a halftime. No, we ate 5, took a halftime, and then ate the rest of the 5.
See, I've never been like down with hot stuff because I want to eat. I want to eat. If I'm putting food in my mouth, I want to chew it.
Yeah, I get you.
Swallow it.
This was like we just wanted to see.
Oh, just to see.
Yeah, it wasn't for fun.
Oh, it wasn't for fun. Okay.
No, but I remember putting ice in my mouth afterwards, and the ice was very hot. The ice did nothing.
Probably because it was too extreme. So maybe like nothing like too cold. maybe something like not like 40 degrees, maybe like 50 degrees, maybe.
I don't know.
That might work. Not something that's like too extremely on the other side.
Everything's gonna taste hot. Everything's.
I think because once your mouth is hot and once it's there, everything that you do is just kind of mitigating it. It ain't. It's.
I saw this one. I believe it was a husband and a wife. A husband and a wife, and the wife was losing it. The husband, like right at first, it seems to burn slowly. Like the intensity increases very fast, but. He was good for like the first 30 seconds to a minute. And then after that, yeah, it wasn't good anymore.
Because it's something that builds.
Yeah,
it's something that's like, it's cumulative.
Apparently, at least.
That heat is cumulative.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's one thing when it goes in, and then when it goes down.
Yeah, somebody on camera said, yeah, the worst part was the swallow.
Yeah.
But one thing that people do that I've seen, because it's like a block of chocolate. It's not very big. But what they're doing is they're biting it. And then they take it down. I'm taking the whole thing down at once. I'm putting the whole thing in my mouth at once. Because if I bite one piece and it's hot, I'm not going to bite the other piece.
Oh,
I'm not going to do that.
Okay, so you're going to like, I guess, expedite the ingestion.
Oh, yes.
So it's like you're not going to like bite it and be like,
Oh, hell no. Because it ain't fun. It's not supposed to be fun.
Wait a second. If it's so... But
not fun for us.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. It's gonna take some kind of like you're gonna have to do something.
I mean, you're gonna have to chew.
You're gonna have to chew. You can't just be like pop the thing and just.
Oh no. No, of course we're gonna chew. But what I'm saying is, I'm not gonna be like swallow.
Oh, trying to taste it. The point is not to taste it because the more I guess the more it goes around in your mouth, the more the residue.
And you're delaying.
Yeah.
How long this burn is gonna last too. If I just eat a piece, and I make this whole thing last like 20 seconds longer than it has to.
You see his mother strategizing already?
Yeah, I'm strategizing. I'm definitely strategizing, man. I don't know how these people are just biting it and just keep biting it. Nah.
Especially because you already know it's hot, so you might as well just like
try take the whole thing down.
Get it to melt really quick and then swallow it. Like I guess minimize how much you swirl it around in your mouth.
I heard. Well, several people said that the it's funny to hear them said that the chocolate was actually very nice. It was a good flavor and everything.
Oh, that's how they get you. That's purposeful. You gotta hide all that. You gotta hide that heat into something sweet. You gotta hide that heat into something sweet, and then it's like it creeps up on you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know what? That's probably why they were chewing it, because they were like, "Man, this is sweet. Man, this is probably sweet." Oh damn! And it just kind of like creeps up on it.
Like you said, it just builds.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that I'm sure that will be some type of entertainment. I don't know how much entertainment, but I'm expecting
entertainment for viewers.
For them, yes, not for us.
Because if we're in pain, it's not good for us.
Yeah, no. I like I said, I just wonder, like, how hot could it be? Like, really, how hot could it be? We'll see. But anyway, we'll let you know. We'll probably put it in the title so everybody is expecting it. But it will definitely be at the end of the program.
Oh, true that.
I'm not that confident.
Oh, true that.
It will be the last thing we do.
Oh, true that.
Because we're going to have to sign off real quick or something. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, just in case of emergency.
Yeah.
There's no way you do that in the middle of a segment. No way.
In case of emergency. Yeah.
That would be another challenge, though. do the Choco Challenge.
Oh, and then do the show?
No, not the show, but maybe like just then try to do it. Like
calls?
Yeah.
Nah, not with that.
Or just like the show, and that's a different challenge.
Not with that. I think the challenge will energize you. I don't know about that.
You know what? That reverse psychology is not going to work.
Yeah.
You see what you're trying to do,
I think you're setting us up.
He's trying to set us up.
I think it will energize
you. Think you're slick, ain't it? No.
I've seen some people go down. But anyway, we will be back on Thursday in just a couple days with a new show, some new topics to talk about, including some things that we have not, or that we didn't get a chance to talk about tonight, including an incident.
Little Rock?
Yeah, in Little Rock, Arkansas. Looks like police brutality to me. But we'll go through it. We'll go through the video.
Police brutality with a hint of protocol violation.
Looks like it.
Just a hint.
Just a hint. Just a hint of protocol violation. And you know what? And actually, I'm a little bit glad that we will be waiting until Thursday. There's not a lot of information.
Oh, no.
Not a lot of information on this.
Yeah.
About the actual crime.
There was some things. There were some things I read about it that kind of led me to other topics that made me more uncomfortable. But we'll have that on Thursday.
Yeah. So self-torture. Yeah, that'll be next week. Says self-torture next week. Yeah, that'll be next week. Appreciate that, Trev. Great show. Appreciate that. All right, so anyway, like I said, we'll be back Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Shout out to all our callers tonight, too. Will, Sav, Tony, Kane X, and Court. I believe that was all the calls we had.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, we had 6?
That's 6.
Okay, we're doing some big things, man. All right, we'd love to have more callers. Love to have it. We don't have, as much time to devote to one caller, but we do like hearing a lot of different voices on this program. So everybody have a good night. We'll be back in a couple days. Until then, peace out. Let the madness begin.
Damn, son. Switch Nick. Bring it